Good Friday morning. Nicely done, Joey. Nicely done. Good start to the Friday morning. It is a feel-good football Friday because this is the last full week without football until February.
Hell
How's
yeah.
that sound, boys?
Sounds incredible.
Feel good.
Feel like Nick Sirianni at the Super Bowl when the national anthem is playing. Just tears. Just
running down your eyes.
We have almost made it. Next week, we will have a NFL preseason game. Next time we reconvene, it'll be camp season. Football players in Lincoln will be checking into the Selleck, which is always the international dorm when I was in school there.
Don't forget, next week
What's next week?
Honoring those enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the ceremony.
We can start the fire.
Okay.
No, we did.
I always tune into those speeches. Those are fun to watch.
It's Cooperstown is this weekend, right? Like CC and Ichiro this weekend? That's gotten like no run. That the Baseball Hall of Fame induction ceremonies are this weekend.
Does the Baseball Hall of Fame induction ceremonies often get a ton of run?
They did the 2 times that I went.
Okay. I've always thought, and this is just my, once again, casual baseball fan. I always feel like they pop up on my notifications of like, oh, hey, these guys got inducted today. And you're like, oh, cool. I knew they were going in. And then you watch like the first 4 to 5 minutes of it. And you're like, all right, good for this dude. You know?
Yeah, I think
awesome.
It's kind of, I mean, Ichiro is a big deal. And then you have a Yankee. It's kind of been overshadowed by the trade deadline talk, which is now less than a week away. But yeah, Cooperstown is this weekend. So welcome in, everybody. You've heard from Joey, Matt, I'm Gary. It is a Friday. We've made it to the end of the week. Again, camp season is here. Nebraska starts football practice on Monday. They check into the dorm room. We take our pillows. We take our lamps. We take our fridges. We take our lofts.
It is always incredible to see what the seniors bring into the dorms compared to what the freshmen bring into the dorms. Because the freshmen, they don't know. So they have a suitcase, right? And a couple of things and whatnot, maybe like, oh, okay, there's a hamper or whatever. And then you see like the seniors.
Hamper.
Yeah, I don't know. I
just haven't heard that phrase in a long time. We all have one.
Yeah.
Just a weird hamper.
You want? I love you haven't heard hamper in a while?
No, I've not heard hamper.
God.
I know a guy named Connor Happer, but not a hamper.
Is there a different word for hamper? Like, is it just
clothespin? I don't know. No, hamper is fine.
Yeah.
That's not a word that is commonly used.
I have 2 hampers. I just run through clothes. I wear too many clothes in a day. And so it's just like to pick up.
How do you wear too many clothes in a day? Explain here because I'm now very intrigued.
So this is my work outfit, right?
Okay,
I'll go.
Very cash. Look like you're, you got some joggers on.
Yeah.
A little light t-shirt.
And then if I go and work out, I'll have shorts and a t-shirt.
Okay.
Then
it makes sense.
Then I'll go and I'll take a shower.
Okay.
And then if I'm doing anything after my workout, then I put on another set of like
you're going
casual
out
clothes.
Yeah. Go to the casino.
And then, amongst other places, could be the movie, could be a restaurant, could be grocery stores.
Horse race track.
Could also be all those things. Those
golf
are all
course,
viable.
Yeah.
Golf course as well. Then I'm a PJs guy. Okay. I love PJs. I wear PJs every night before I go to bed.
Sounds very reasonable. You don't want to smell. You don't want to stink up the whole day.
Exactly.
After a workout.
Exactly. So then I put on. So I go through about 4 pairs of clothes a day. So henceforth 2 hampers. You gotta throw them all in there.
Youngest guy I've ever known, Joey, that wears pajamas.
Oh, I love them. It's comfy.
That is not a toddler or an infant or
come on,
a preteen.
Does it have like a little cartoon rocket or a car on like the shirt?
One of them does. One of them's like a abominable snowman.
Or do you have like a little Chicago Bears snuggie?
No, I don't know. I'm not. No, most of my pajamas come from the Christmas pictures. The
only snuggie I have is for sexual purposes only.
There's snuggie for sexual purposes?
Yeah, Google it. All right, welcome to daycare.
It's not daycare. What do you mean? What is so wrong about wearing pajamas? Pajamas are comfortable.
You're 23 years old. I just have not heard a 23-year-old male say I wear pajamas.
I didn't know that there was a timestamp and an age date on pajamas. If I want to wear some comfortable jeans, I'm going to wear some comfortable jeans to bed. Comfortable pants.
Does your mom tuck you in at night?
No.
Too?
God.
Do they come into they shut the light off and they say, "Oh, Matt, sleep well."
Did you have them check
No.
for monsters under the bed
you drop,
in the closet?
you drop your knees and say a prayer before you go to bed.
I mean, I do eat my
Jesus,
vitamins.
bless the family, bless
I do
everybody
say-
else, bless the Bears, bless the Huskers. Go. And you're
I
like,
mean, yeah, on
okay.
Sundays.
all right.
I don't know if the Bears have made their way into my Sunday prayers yet.
Speaking of childhood, man, I'm trying to figure this out because yesterday, this has been a rough week for yours truly, like the characters that you grow up with, like icons, whether it be Theo Huxtable or Ozzy, or now Hulk Hogan, who passed away yesterday. So my age, this has been a little bit rough. Like people you grew up with, like you spent Thursday night with, and then you spent Saturdays with, and then you wanted to be one of them, or you tried to sing like one of them, or you had a walk-up song that was Crazy Train. This has been a rough week. But I was thinking about this driving in. Because also yesterday, Chuck Mangione passed away at the age of 84, where I have not heard the word hamper in a while. I have not heard the word flugelhorn in a while, which he played. People will say he's a trumpeter. Others will say, no. Learn your flugelhorn. So my question is did Chuck Mangione end the three, or did Hulk Hogan start the three?
Ooh.
Because if Hulk Hogan started, celebrity deaths come in three, if he started the three, it's about to really get, we're going to have another rough weekend for, people my age if we're losing, like icons of our childhood memories.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Hulk Hogan did start the three, and the three already ended because unfortunately there was another death yesterday. Ann Burrell, who was a very famous Food Network chef.
Oh, yeah.
She unfortunately passed away from what was claimed a suicide. So that was another one too, where if you were a massive, I love the Food Network.
Yeah.
She was, not like the main stars like Guy Fieri or any like Bobby Flay or Gordon Ramsay, but always would show up in all those types of shows. And it's just one of those things where she was always the like biggest smile, the happiest, the just absolute, like always brought the energy to any sort of like cooking show she was on. And then ends up yesterday, like commit suicide. It's just one of those things where it's like the people who you never would think are like always are, has that energy. You don't really know what's going on in their life. So I mean,
so Hulk Hogan has started the three.
He started the three.
Ooh.
This has been, I'm going to be honest with you, this has probably been the worst week of deaths that I've experienced in my life in terms of like famous people deaths, in terms of like all in like one cluster. I've never really experienced, like I think last year we had there was like a really rough week maybe last year or 2 years ago where I remember, for whatever reason, I remember that this kind of happened where there was a cluster, but like crazy stuff, great icons, not just like people that, not just
the
like
one we're going to talk about in particular. Yes and no.
Yeah.
Somebody had a thing on the phone.
Yeah. So Amber Rell, the caller, said that her passing was 5 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. And then it popped up on Twitter.
Yeah.
Is on yesterday as if it like just happened.
Yeah. It popped up on Twitter yesterday just as it happened. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's what I thought. So I assumed
I haven't looked.
So maybe he did start the three.
So this is the part of like being a kid in the 80s where you wanted 24-inch pythons and Hulkamania was running wild, and you watched everything. You were one of those people on that Saturday night on NBC that had 33 million people watch Hulk Hogan against Andre the Giant and watched all the pay-per-views and the WrestleManias and all of that kind of stuff. Man, so hard life, just like Ozzy. I think nowadays, anybody that has had a lot of stuff injected into their body, if you make it past 70, I'm like, damn, good on you. But man, the clock is ticking because you have not taken care of your body, and your body is beat up, and we now know what Hulk Hogan, hips and knees and all that kind of stuff. And then him passing away yesterday from cardiac arrest. But this is a conversation that is really tough to have about him because there is the character that is an icon. You could make a case that he is the most influential cultural figure in the history of that sport, and for a time being was one of the most recognized people in America. Didn't matter if he was in tights or in street clothes. You could make that case. And what he did to that sport, he probably saved wrestling. And then there's the other part, which this kind of sucks, and I'm over this. And So it didn't hit me as hard yesterday
Mhm.
because I've spent about 20 years being like, this guy, the guy that is Terry Bollea, is a friggin' bad, terrible person, okay, that deserved everything that came his way for what he did. So it's that, I know there's a lot of like retrospective, and I loved it. Got me into wrestling and everything, but I don't think you can tell the story about Hulk Hogan without telling the story of the person. There's the character that will celebrate. There's the person that, hey, have fun having that dirt nap, pal.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you can totally separate both of them, if I'm being honest. You can separate the fact that Hulk Hogan, without him, without the existence of that character, okay? And by the way, it's, yes, Terry Bollea played the character, but Hulk Hogan wasn't just Terry Bollea. There was a lot of people who had their hands in building that character up to how influential it was, but he was the person who played it. And so without him, the thing that I love and the thing that I know that you love and a lot of people love, like, literally wouldn't exist. Like, he is not arguably, he is the most influential, most important wrestler of all time. The WWE does not get off their feet. They do not succeed at
WWF.
WrestleMania.
WWF.
Yeah, good point. Does not get to where they are without him. And also, too, the fact that he was willing to take that step into doing movies and doing into Hollywood. Like, he was one of those first guys who did that and, like, lifted up that brand to, oh my God, if Hulk Hogan's here, I got to go and find out what he's doing on the WWF. But then, like, the guy who played it was an a-hole, was just a POS. And, like, we don't have to necessarily celebrate that guy, but we can definitely celebrate the work that he did to create and help elevate a product that has created so many incredible memories for so many people across the world.
You know, it's almost like it's fitting because he came in, what was it? What did he debut? Like in 79?
Yeah. So,
and he grew, and then the 80s and, the cultural part of it, Thunder Lips, all the other stuff. He took a wrestling superstar outside, and, people wanted to be him, and, you emulated all of his moves. Is the last time that he appeared at an event, at a actual wrestling show, he got booed. He got booed. One of the biggest, he's on the Mount Rushmore of most popular wrestlers, but he got booed. He got booed. So for the last 20 years, he's been a horrible human being.
Yeah.
He's the guy that is named Terry is a bad person. The guy that played the character, Hulk Hogan, changed the sport. And like so many people were drawn into wrestling because of this guy. So it's like the weird thing this morning to talk about him because you have to balance. You can't tell one side without telling the other. And I don't know. I mean, he was a superhero who became a villain, and then he became a hero again, and then he became a villain. It's a wild arc of a life of Hulk Hogan.
There are some superstars, though, like some famous celebrities who they're just around in the light for too long, and eventually you find a way to maybe be down on them, or it's like you get tired of them and you get sick of them. And then a lot of the times we get sick of them too much and we realize, oh, we're probably being too harsh on them, and they come back up, right? And then we herald them again. He is not that. I mean, a lot of the I don't know if you want to call it hate, but criticism that he gets is deserved because it's in writing and it's in recording and it's in video and it's just proven. And also too, like, Jim Cornette is a guy that I love. He has this very famous, like, 25 to 30-minute video of just literally all of the lies that Hulk Hogan has ever, like, told in his life to, like, make himself look better or make others look worse. Or, like, it's just, he's not a good guy. And I think it's something that a lot of people have struggled with, is like, he is a hero to so many people's childhoods, to so many humans. But yet, as you grow up, you have to recognize it's like, I don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be your hero. And I think that's tough for some people to recognize. But he is, I don't know if there are too many people like him in sports, in the terms of the fact that it's just like, I don't know how you can really defend him as a human and be like,
you can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
Like, you just can't.
But you can share memories of, you're right, he was a superhero. He meant something to almost everyone. And here's another part of, like, his run. And again, he was superhero, villain, hero, villain, as the character. There was a point, when the Iron Sheik who,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of stuff that is being mentioned about Hulk Hogan in podcasts and people remembering. Iron Sheik's appearance with Stern is classic because you learn about the backstory of Hogan, and probably Hulk Hogan probably stood in the way of wrestlers as they got older sticking around because he would not go for the union. If they have a union in wrestling, there's probably the health of former wrestlers is taken care of better. I mean, he ripped off his character from Billy Superstar Graham.
Great point.
But Iron Sheik's on Howard Stern is fantastic. But you can't tell really the story of like Hulk Hogan without the Iron Sheik, because a superhero who became an icon, he also made people proud to be an American at the time, because what was he fighting? He had the Real American entrance song, but he was fighting a guy from Iran. He was fighting a guy from Russia, and we were proud to be an American. And if you ever got a chance to see against Nikolai Volkov or the Iron Sheik, and it was Hulk Hogan, I mean, it was red, white, and blue. It's a weird balance to talk about him, because I love the character, love the character, but then his last 20 years, man, bad man. But I guess we'll spend time talking about the Hulk Hogan character, because that's where our memories were meant, or that's where our memories were made. And let's be honest, how many of you guys, like when you're wrestling at home, you like, okay, I'm going to use blank move. There are a lot of people that used Hogan's move. Now, that move got old because it was the same all the time. But he was one of the wrestlers, you used his move when you were, fighting your brother or anybody else at home.
The leg drop is one of the greatest finishing moves of all time. It really is. And it's one of the last finishing moves that once you got hit by it, you were looking at the lights. Like, back then, they didn't do this whole like, oh, you get hit with 4 finishers and you kick out over and over and over again. Like you got hit by Hogan's leg, and it's like, all right, your night was done, and you were looking up. I think though, when it comes to Hogan, I can't stand the whole he wasn't a good wrestler or he was a terrible technical wrestler, because to me, that tells me that you don't fully know what wrestling is. Because, and here's why I'll say this. It wasn't necessarily that he could do all the moves that Bret Hart could do, and he could do the bridges, and he could do, the tope suicidas and the like dragon snap suplexes and all that. But his pantomiming and the way he would use his hands and the way he would use his body and the way like he would get the crowd, there was nobody who like used their figure to like get the crowd like into the motion, into the action, invested in everything. Yeah. Was he going off the top rope? No. He wasn't, but where it was everybody just totally invested in every move that he would do and every movement he was performing. Yeah, and that's wrestling. Like that is like putting on the show. That is like putting on the acting. And so and also too, like to this day, other than the American aspect of it, I really don't know what made him popular. Like I don't think anyone really knows what made him so like made you gravitate to him so much, because we've never been able to duplicate that. Like they have never been able.
Body slammed Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3.
Like we've never been able to make that same attraction ever again in wrestling. This just big American looking guy who just like captivated the audience in a way where it like you could never be. He was the ultimate good guy, and you barely could get tired of him. Like it's just It's so unique. Like Hulk Hogan in a way is like lightning in a bottle, but you were able to keep that lightning in there for like 25 years.
Everybody's got a memory. They've seen him in person, whether you're Monday night in 1998, you drive down to Kansas City Kemp Arena to see him wrestle Randy Macho Man Savage in WCW Nitro, or locally, somebody has seen Hulk Hogan. Maybe you went to Hy-Vee, like back in the fall when he had his beer out. Did you go, Joey?
No.
Did you go to Hy-Vee to check out Hulk?
I know a couple people who were there and got some pictures with him.
Kevin writes into the Equitable Bank inbox. He goes, I saw Hulk Hogan play bass with a band in Council Bluffs at Fat Jack's. Just like he was playing in his video.
I was about to say.
And he goes, back in the day in the 80s, I saw Hulk Hogan at a local bar. He got up on stage with a band and he rocked the bass for a song or two. He was a massive man at the time, and man, did he own the place. Everyone was drawn to him. Me and my buddy were liquored up, though we could take him and give him an ass whooping.
He is.
Don't mess with Thunder Lips.
That is one thing though. I wish I would have seen in person how large of a human he looks like. Have you seen those pictures of him on Twitter when he was like in the 80s with like his hair was receding and like it was like, and he was 34 years old and he looked like he was like a big 55-year-old. Some of those wrestlers back in the 80s, they don't build men like they used to. I'm going to be honest, like those guys are big, and I understand that there were some other maybe extracurricular third
Enhancements?
party enhancements that were going on.
Can you imagine what kind of stuff would went into his body?
I can't imagine. But the fact, by the way, the fact that he lived to 71 is like a long life.
That's what I'm telling you, man.
That's a long wrestling
people
life.
That live the hard life in rock and wrestling and anything else. I mean, you make it past 70. That's why preserve Keith Richards. Put that man in a bubble.
I don't know if you saw it yesterday though. MTV interviewed Ric Flair.
Oh, I think it was TMZ.
Oh, sorry. What did I say?
You said MTV.
My bad. TMZ interviewed Ric Flair. Not looking good.
Yeah, he's had some health issues of late.
I mean, he was literally died.
We can't have Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair in the same week.
God,
just I'm sorry. Hey, to Bruno Sammartino upstairs or anybody else, just you know what? Let's just hold off. Let's hold off on Ric Flair. Okay, we don't need that.
We got our main event already.
All right, coming up in about an hour, Sam McEwen will join us. We'll put a bow on what happened out in Vegas. Big Ten Media Days are over. Talking season is done. Time to go camping. And again, Nebraska starts football practice on Monday to begin the road. The urgency of Cincinnati at Arrowhead. Sam will join us at 7:30. Mike Schaefer at 9:05. And then Matt Verzel at 9:20. That is the lineup brought to you by the Roofers at John Higgins Weather Guard on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Here is Jesse. Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. Just listen to this conversation. Things I agree with and I disagree with. And I notice in every radio show, it's not just you guys, but when you start talking about the bad half of Hulk Hogan, everybody's vague. Nobody says it out loud. And you have to go and some people have to Google, and you gotta yeah, he lied. He said this, and then that sucks. But you mentioned, are there guys at his level or guys or girls at his level in other sports? And there's three that came to mind, but in different levels, but all together in the same sport. And I think they're the three people that saved the NBA: Magic, Larry, and Jordan. If you take a step back and look at those guys, we celebrate all of them. But if you look at their personal lives and some of their actions and how those actions affected them and their families, I think you could draw a comparison there. And that's the closest thing I could think. And you could maybe also throw in Tiger Woods to that. But those three came to mind right away. So,
Jesse, thanks for the
it's a great comparison. Because I think Tiger might be better, though, because I think a lot of people still think that Jack Nicklaus is the greatest golfer of all time, but Tiger Woods is probably the most important golfer of all time. And I don't know how many people are putting Hulk Hogan as their number one wrestler ever, but he is the number one most important wrestler ever, for sure. When it was Jesse, by the way, on the call line, I thought for a second it was going to be Jesse the Ace Ventura. I was really, I got excited. Hogan ratted me out to Vince. I wanted to unionize, and he went to Vince and said, "Hey, Jesse he's trying to start a union."
If they would have gotten the union, there's probably wrestlers that their bodies were breaking down. They could have helped, but he stood in the way. I mean, you learn the great wrestlers of that era when their career is done and they sit down and they do these shows. It is wild, the stuff that went on behind the scenes. And I'm not talking about any steroid use or anything like that. I'm talking about like the politics, and like Hogan was a big part of it. The thing about wrestling though, and we both like wrestling, and wrestling back then, he had 33 million people on a Saturday night on NBC, not on a pay-per-view, on NBC, watched crazy. Hogan and Andre the Giant. Is that, and this is even with television shows and movies, they're characters on TV. Okay. And in the ring, they're just that. They're characters. And the men and women who become those characters aren't always what we hope they would be. Well, you got a sex tape. It changed everything. You got racial slurs, changed everything. I mean, I guess credit to Terry Bollea. Unlike some other wrestlers in his time, he didn't murder anybody.
No, but that's not even a joke. Like that, like literally, like he didn't do any of that. But also too, like that was the one thing. The Iron Claw movie is one of my favorite movies ever. They don't dive in though fully into what that wrestling life was like. And I think Dark Side of the Ring, like those documentaries, does an incredible job of like really telling you like, man, this isn't like just like, oh yeah, they smoked a doobie every once in a while. Like it was hardcore alcohol, drugs, like the like every night, like every other night. And like Ric Flair tells some great stories about how he would have like 17 beers every day. And he would be like driving around like different metropolitan cities. And like, I mean, back to like the Iron Claw movie, like what was Ric Flair's one of his only lines is like, where the hell is there a place to get messed up around here? Like after wrestling. Like
well,
that's
look
what
at
it
this
was.
sad tale of a guy like Andre the Giant.
Well, yeah, what's the story? He drank like 103 beers in one night or something like that.
Very, very, very sad life. Somebody that's that large that, you can't go and hide, and all the other demons that he was fighting. I mean, that run, credit to those wrestlers during that run. They entertained us and they brought us into the sport, but they also killed themselves doing it.
Well,
essentially.
And also too, there was let's be honest here, in the 80s and 90s, wrestling was a human circus. It really was. You would have grown men standing up, like diving onto not very securely padded rings, like beating the crap out of one another. And back then too, like if you watch some like Jim Crockett territory, NWA stuff, it's not like they were faking these punches.
Yeah.
Like they were actually hitting each other, and they took pride in hitting each other, and they didn't have concussion protocols, and they didn't have the scans, and they didn't have like if you got hurt, that was another thing too, which has been a great like addition to the policy for WWE. And this didn't happen until like 10, 15 years ago, but there was the stigma of if I got hurt, I was going to lose my spot. If I got hurt, I gave another guy an opportunity to come through and make my money. And so there was never an option for, oh, I'm going to get surgery, or I'm going to do this, or no, it was like, I'm going to take drugs, and I'm going to like take pills, and I'm going to like relieve the pain. I mean, Kerry Von Erich literally was wrestling on one foot.
Yeah.
He lost his foot in an accident and was wrestling on a prosthetic because that was the lifestyle he wanted to live. It's why, and there's a reason why we don't publicize it as much, because I don't know, maybe not for me as much. And I'm curious with you. Do you think learning about all these things in the 80s that happened in a product that you loved has kind of ruined that product for you a bit? Like, is it hard for you at all to like rewatch any of that stuff?
Because I think as I understood that they were the characters.
Yeah.
It sucks that was a lifestyle. I say, hey, thank you for entertaining me. But I think I can separate. It's just the balance of this discussion about this person who, man, we were all one to be a Hulkster. That was an unbelievable. He was, again, you could make the case that he is the most influential cultural person in the history of that sport. And for, I would say, a good 10 to 12, maybe even 15 years, he was one of the top 5 most recognizable people in America.
It was crazy though, Gary. Like he made some really big mistakes, and then even in WrestleMania 30, he gets this massive pop.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more because there's other stuff about the legacy of Hulk Hogan. Because we all had a move. Joey, you might have been like, I could see you wrestling at home with your family members, and you went with the bushwhacker move?
Not at home with family members. I did not have brothers.
You didn't sprint into Hy-Vee one day, like to emulate the Ultimate Warrior?
I did some moves in the kitchen.
Boom! That one?
Were you an attitude adjustment guy?
Yeah, I was an attitude adjustment guy to some
Joey's
satisfied customers.
Joey's in for Jimmy. There's Matt. I'm Gary. It's Gary. Matt on 1620 The Zone. Just going to celebrate the 80s this morning.
Might as well. It's been kind of the theme this week.
Stop dying.
Is that the theme?
Yeah.
Is that the message?
Let's take a couple of days off. All right.
Let's take a break.
All right. The man upstairs, let's just take a couple of days off. All right.
We need time to grieve.
Theo Huxtable, man. Theo Huxtable. I grew up on Thursday nights, 7 o'clock, WHO in Des Moines. Now I got hope. The 1980s. Again, me and some buddies said, you know what? On a Monday night, let's drive to Kemper Arena to see this guy wrestle. So let's just take the weekend off, because this weekend will be full of nostalgia. Happy Gilmore 2 Day to all that celebrate. It was dropped on Netflix at midnight.
Did you take a viewing of it? Did you start it?
No.
Not yet.
It'll feel like a high school reunion. There'll be a bunch of cameos.
Yeah.
And I just know it's going to be terrible, but I'm going to watch it, and you can't tell me that I shouldn't watch it because it's terrible, because I'm already going to watch it because I've watched the first one so many times I forget. It's going to be terrible. Just plan that way. But it's Happy Gilmore. So Happy Gilmore 2 Day to all that want to celebrate.
So fun fact. So my
I
parents.
like fun facts.
So my parents live in a rural town in Colorado, just like 4 hours southwest of Denver. So
Matt Rule has a town named after him in Colorado. That's got to rile up the Buffs.
And anyway, so there's this reptile center just out in the middle of nowhere in a valley area, and they had the crocodile or the alligator from Happy Gilmore.
Really?
Yeah, the sign was still up there when I was just passing through in May, even though the gator died. They haven't took the sign down yet.
That is such a stupid movie that so many people have profited off of for such a long time.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely incredible.
It's a cult.
It's
a cult following.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie, and it's entertaining.
But you're not going to it thinking, I wonder if this will be the movie that Sandler wins an Oscar.
No. It's very.
He got screwed. Righteous, yeah.
But it's not even. I'm not even saying that it's not even a movie that I'm going to watch an Oscar for. Even for like comedy movies, it's pretty like, slapstick dumb. But it's like It's a good slapstick dumb. It's not my favorite type of comedy. I've seen.
You don't like dumb?
I've seen it once. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I've seen Dumb and Dumber once.
Okay.
I've seen Spaceballs once.
Okay.
What
about Fletch?
Haven't seen Fletch.
What about Animal House?
I've seen. Well, so that's different.
What
though.
about
That's
Superbad?
Wait. Animal House and Superbad are very different comedies to Happy Gilmore. Okay, they are very different.
Because Bluto never played. Well, no. There is golf in Animal House.
Okay, no, but I'm not.
Okay.
But I'm talking about the type of comedy. I'm talking about it's
I
frat
gotcha.
house stupid comedy compared to like, it's funny. This dude is running off of the tee box to hit the ball, and he like putts with a hockey stick. And there was this weird guy named Shooter McGavin.
I like stupid.
This is like, and
Super
bad is like the awkward comedy. Like that's like the like you
But don't
get
you
like
like to laugh?
secondhand embarrassment. I don't laugh as much as
We
I
need
laugh
to- we
way
need to
more.
laugh more.
I laugh way more at like The Chaperones or like the Superbad.
Shawshank Redemption. You're
No,
like,
that's not a comedy movie. I know that I have to watch Happy Gilmore 2. There are things that I just watch.
No, I don't want to force you to it. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it.
Well, you know what? Maybe
it's
watch,
going to be terrible.
maybe if
so
I-
will Naked Gun too.
maybe
But you
I'm
just-
not
but
watching
you-
Naked
but
Gun.
you just know
There's
that
no
going
way
in.
I'm watching Naked
It's
Gun.
all called commitment. You know it's going to be bad, but you'll just watch it anyway because you've seen the first one. Might as well see what happens in the second one.
There are just some things where it's like, I know I'm not going to like it, but I know to like have conversations with people, like I have to watch this. Like Tiger King was one of those things where it's like, this is stupid, and I know it's not going to be my cup of tea, but everybody and their mother's having a combo about it. So
that was one of those shows that we were like forced with COVID at our back to watch because everybody was talking about it, and then you watched it, and then you got done with it, and years later you went, why? Why did I watch that?
Yeah, why did you dedicate literal hours to a weirdo and his wife and a tiger?
I don't know. People really like that?
Yes.
Joey, if you would have known and could have stopped and seen the gator, would you have stopped and gone to the Tiger King in Oklahoma if you would have known that?
No.
Okay.
I have no interest.
I just can't believe has Shooter McGavin done anything other than Happy Gilmore in his acting career, or like anything?
Besides any cameos or
Yeah, I
commercials.
think some cameos and commercials.
Okay.
Which, yeah, I mean,
As
look at-
Shooter
hey,
McGavin
look
or
at- look
as
at-
himself?
But look at, if you're a friend of Sandler, you're
You're
set
set.
because you're going to be in all of his movies. Like, look at Dan Patrick, for example. I think he's probably profited for 30 years off Happy Gilmore, and that's okay
Well,
because that was a great character. That's fine.
Let's
That's
be
fine.
honest here. Like David Spade hasn't really done a whole lot in
No.
in recent memory. I love David Spade. I think he's awesome. But it's just like
walked out with Morgan Wallen over the weekend.
yeah, I did as,
He was-
Joe,
as Joe
Dirt.
Dirt, yeah.
It was great. That was
and they are lucky in Phoenix, by the way, that Morgan Wallen came back for night 2.
why would happen the night before?
So the way his stage is set up, he gets kind of close to the crowd, and there were people that were trying to pull him into the crowd, and and they started throwing stuff at him, and he was like, So people thought he wasn't going to come back for night 2 in Glendale last week, but he came back, and his walkout was Joe Dirt,
It was sick.
who was
awesome.
if you see the video, is working as Joe Dirt, and all of a sudden Morgan Wallen pauses, and there's David Spade.
He's like, I love him, but he hasn't done anything.
No,
But
no.
he's brought along on these Sandler films, and you're like, hey, David Spade is there. David Spade is probably one of the best characters in Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2. Like he's just a great actor, but he
Is that
he
something
gets
to be
brought
proud
along.
of?
You don't like Grown Ups or Grown Ups 2? Grown Ups, I'm going to tell you right now.
Just in
this
my
is-
mind, not all comedy is
Can I tell
created
you what?
equal, but
Can I tell you what my worst take is? I like Grown Ups more than Happy Gilmore. I don't care. I don't care. I have my own taste. I have my own opinions. I think Grown Ups is so funny. I think it's incredible. The fact that like the base of the film, the plot of the film is dudes who hate each other dating back to a 7th grade basketball game. And then literally, and do you know what solves the movie? Do you know what is like the coup de grace of the movie that brings everybody together? Tim Duncan's bank shot. Okay, that is like the saving grace. Adam Sandler has watched enough San Antonio Spur basketball that he's taught his son to hit the ball off the corner of the basket in order to beat a guy in a Bahamas pickup game.
It's amazing how good a basketball player he is in just an ordinary pickup game. I've seen videos of Adam Sandler just going up to just random basketball courts.
Rajon Rondo.
okay, so I'm going to help you here.
Yeah.
Trying to sell Happy Gilmore 2, which I don't need to.
You don't need to.
I mean, I'm sure at midnight last night, people are like, I got to watch, and I'll watch. There actually is a Tim Duncan-esque cameo in Happy Gilmore 2.
Is there actually? Is Tim Duncan in Happy Gilmore?
No,
too?
I said esque.
Okay.
Scotty Scheffler.
Oh, great point.
So,
He's in the movie.
Yeah.
I thought he just went to the premiere. I didn't know that he
No.
was actually
He,
a part of it.
There are a ton of golfers that make cameos in this movie.
Is he going to finish in the top
including
5?
Including a guy, I think a guy that plays tight end for the Chiefs, I think is in this.
Can I?
Oh, someone who's familiar with Taylor Swift.
Joey, did you see all the pictures that he put out yesterday of those two enjoying their summer?
I haven't.
It's going to be a fun last ride. I'm ready. It's going to be a
Is
fun.
that what you're calling it? You're calling it?
The last
87 is done.
You really think so?
Yeah. I think 87 is done. At some point, they will get engaged. It'll be a big deal.
I hope.
And this will be it for him, and that's perfectly fine.
There's nothing wrong. I feel like some athletes think that there's something wrong with like a retirement tour.
Mhm.
Like they don't want to like bring all the attention to them, and they don't want all of that. I think there are certain types of players though that definitely deserve it and earn it. He is one of them. I wish he would kind of say, "Hey, this is my last season for sure." So I could like appreciate the fact that like, hey, I know that I'm watching him. Like I only have so much finite amount of time to watch him play the tight end position because he's that incredible. But I
He
will
got
watch
17 games at least this year.
I will
to
watch-
him play.
I will-
Maybe he won't play all 17.
I will watch this movie. MJF's in this movie. I don't know what he's. Maxwell Jacob Friedman is a wrestler. For those who don't know, who are listening to the radio, who are not attuned to AEW, so that'll bring me to the screen to see like what stupid part he plays.
Are trash can wrestlers in this movie?
The Outrunners?
Yeah.
I don't think they are. I think it was only MJF who like took a lot of time off and completely halted his push.
Did
to
you
do this movie.
did you hear the wild story last weekend involving those two in Chicago?
No. What happened to them?
So there was a recruiting event for basketball in Chicago last week, and Chris Crutchfield and Kyan Brown were doing the Chicago leg of recruiting,
Okay.
and they were on the pier and they walked into a restaurant, and those two were there.
No way.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And did they take a picture with them and
Oh, yeah.
everything like that?
Yeah.
That's sick. Those guys are, I don't know why they haven't, like, I will say this, like, right after the UNO run, they just happened to get a tag team title shot. And like they were on TV more than ever during when the Mavs were making their run as well. And so I feel like UNO or Omaha, my apologies, gave them kind of that, like, a little bit of a push. Like the fact that, like, Tony Khan kind of looked at it and was like, wow, these guys have gone like viral with this basketball team. We're going to put them on national television. They haven't popped up on my feed as much, so I don't know if they're getting as much run. I think their gimmick is awesome. Their gimmick is basically the Outrunners would be like the tag team stable for Hulk Hogan. Like that's how they are. Like that's what their characters are. They're like, I love them. I think they're great. I don't know how they are as wrestlers. I haven't watched too many of their matches, but their personality and gimmick is awesome.
All right, when we come back, an hour that'll include a chat with Sam McEwen. Yesterday was a good day for Metro High School football. Does that mean anything for Nebraska football? We'll discuss in the next hour. Mike Schaefer a little bit later. Matt Verzal, we will pose a question to him that involves local high school football as we roll till 10 on the final show of the week on a Feel Good Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Gary and Matt with Joey on 1620 The Zone.
I don't know if this is the best one. I like out of
Okay, question here from the gallery.
yeah.
Sorry for people on 1620 The Zone TV. You cannot hear the music that is playing. Are you a huge fan of Queen, but not maybe reading the room on what this song's title is?
Yeah. Another one
all right.
bites the dust.
All right.
I was thinking.
Joey, that's morbid. That is really morbid. You like literally, we're on a run of people passing away, very unfortunately, that are beloved. And what are you saying?
If they add more songs from the 80s genre, this is from the 80s.
It is. So, okay.
By the way,
Junkyard Dog, this was, I believe, his song.
Gary said earlier, he's like,
Love Junkyard Dog.
Is this the theme? Is 80s the theme today? No, the theme is, and the theme has been all week, Joey Colbert's own personal playlist. This is what, it hasn't been anything other than what Joey just listens to all week, and he plays it when we come in and come out of breaks. But you have a great taste. You have a great taste in music. Oh, I just remembered another Hulk Hogan lie. He said one time that in 1 year, he worked 400 days of wrestling in 1 year because he would fly to Japan and work, and then how the time meridian worked when you flew back, it was actually you'd come back a day later, and so like he was time traveling through space and time, man, and so he actually worked 400 days in a year, even though that's not how time works. You don't just time travel back and forth across the equator and be like, oh yeah, I've had 400 days this year. So that was one of my favorites.
There
was a whole list of them.
This is, you guys have seen this on just on video. Something that Jesse brought up about the NBA and saving the NBA in this time period. When you go back and look like the heyday of Hulk Hogan wrestling or the NBA back in the 80s, didn't the crowds, whether it be at an NBA game, NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, or a wrestling event, didn't those crowds in the 80s look insane? Like, it always looked packed, and it almost looked like people were brawling in the stands the entire time. Those crowds in the 80s in the four main sports and then wrestling always looked insane. They were like, I want to be a part of it.
What happened? Like,
Cell
why
phones.
have we? Yeah.
Cell phones.
Really?
That's the difference.
You think that's dulled down the
You got
rowdiness?
cell phones, you got social media. People are just looking at their phones at the games. You see it everywhere. People not paying attention to what's going on nowadays. I mean, I'm not saying that's for everybody.
I think that's my least favorite now social media trope that we have, where if there's like a big historical moment, we'll take a picture of that moment happening, and you'll have all the phones up. You'll see everybody has their phones out, and then there'll be that one guy who doesn't have his phone, and they'll be like, look at this guy soaking in the moment. He's soaking it in.
Sporting events aren't the only area of where this is happening. You see this at concerts too. You see back in the 80s, you see people just all locked into the performance. Nowadays, people have their phones out trying to record the experience when they're actually there.
Andrew tweets in about this. It just dawned on me watching some of the old Hogan stuff. But like you look at crowds at the Boston Garden or the Forum back in the day, or the Chicago Stadium. This is kind of on your line, Joey. The difference in crowds from the 80s and now is television and streaming.
Well, I think
also people back then, you sat like literally on top of each other.
So
like the comfort, you didn't really get all caught up in being comfortable sitting in an arena or a stadium. So you literally, like, there was very little room. I mean, you were sitting at Memorial Stadium every single day if you went to a sporting event back in the 80s.
Also, too, like, just attitudes were different, and wrestling crowds in particularly were just incredibly rowdy. And now if you got that rowdy at a sporting event and you were yelling and screaming at the top of your lungs and really, really into it, there would definitely be people who would look at you and be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Yeah. Why are you acting like a rabid animal? I want to go on and say this, though. We need more signs at sporting events. Maybe more so wrestling, because that's what it's built for. But like,
don't we already?
Oh my God, there's not as many as there used to. If you look at like the backdrops from like 80s wrestling and the Attitude Era, like all the signs they used to have to like now, like you could make the argument that there were some broadcasts, like the signs made the broadcast. Like it made you chuckle, it made you laugh, it made you like realize like who people are rooting for, who people are rooting against. We don't have that anymore. We're just too calm now. We're just not, I don't know, just people just don't get like as like.
Well, you also pay a lot of money for seats. So that has to do with it. I mean, you probably could. I don't remember what we paid in '98 when we went to Kemper Arena, but I bet it wasn't more than $20. It probably cost us more in gas money to get from Lincoln to Kansas City to go watch Hogan and Randy Macho Man Savage. But you didn't. The people that were sitting closest to the action, it wasn't as expensive as it is today. So you were more of a fan. You were just a regular fan that got an opportunity to sit close to the court or the field. I don't know. And kind of along the lines of the phone, people were more engaged and more into the event.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. You could be rowdy. Like you try and be rowdy today, they're coming and they're taking you out. All right, Sam McEwen's coming up at the bottom of the hour. We are closing in on football. This is the last full week without football until February. Camp is opening up. Iowa State, Kansas State. I saw a video yesterday in Ames and Manhattan of those two teams getting ready because Farmageddon is closing in from tomorrow. 4 weeks? Is it 4 weeks from tomorrow? Yeah. 4 weeks from tomorrow. So college football is here, the NFL camp, all of that kind of stuff. High school football practice begins here shortly in the state of Nebraska and around the country. I don't think that I've ever, being around high school football in this city, ever had more people that are negative and just not excited about the start of high school football season around here than I've ever encountered coming into this fall.
Why is that?
Because it's already predetermined who's going to play in the Class A final. There is such, and I can't wait to talk to Vers about this because the NSA and their scheduling and this is an interesting time of the separation of the big programs and the low programs and the programs that, what they do with their roster and so on and so forth. And it's all the same stuff we talked about before. It's already, there's just going to be two teams. Mm-hmm. It's going to be West Side and Millard South they're going to play. Why would I want to watch? And I'm like, well, you're going to have a quarterback at Millard South that probably midway through the year is going to break the all-time passing record. But people are down. People I don't know if I'm going to go to a game. People go, hey, what's your television schedule? And I'll say, hey, I got some good games. Oh, that's great. There's just a lot of negativity, unfortunately, towards Class A football in this town when the talent's going to be pretty good. I mean, we've got two Power 4 quarterbacks that are going to play. And now, I mean, I don't know if you're kind of, you might be dabbling in a little high school football. I don't know if you're sensing that. But the attitude towards high school football and the upcoming season and the excitement. Now, if you're playing, different. If you're coaching, different. But if you're an observer, you're like, why? Just wake me up when the end of November gets here and I'll see West Side and Millard South play again. I say, by the way, not so fast. There's going to be a couple of surprise teams in A. I don't know if anybody's good enough to knock those two off.
I will be announcing a couple of games this year. Now, granted, I haven't done my full homework, and so I can't fully speak to this like as an expert. But I definitely do understand the idea of, if I don't have a shot, why should I be invested in a team or be invested in like going to games and spending money and spending time and watching them when I know that, like you said, it's going to be Millard South more than likely in West Side and like in the championship game. But I do think like high school football, like I hope that people come around maybe towards that attitude, because I've always thought that high school football is a little bit more than just like your wins and losses and more so just about like the championships you win. Like it's a lot about seeing young men, kind of grow as football players and seeing them learn how to be on a team together. And even if like, your team is good enough to win the championship, it is pretty cool to see a group of guys come together and win some games in a row and like, become a family and have that brotherhood. And like, I just think that high school football it just always has been a little bit more about what's in the win column and what's in the loss column. But at the same time, I don't blame anybody's sentiment for being a little bit down when you really believe that, hey, we already kind of know what it's going to look like. Now, I don't know, but like personally, I don't know what like would solve these problems. But is it just like that's what
we're going to talk to Vers about.
Yeah,
there's scheduling. The genie is out of the bottle in terms of sitting out, transfer, all of those kind of things. But it's there. And I'll give you a little example. When we set our TV schedule, there are so many blowouts. There are very few competitive games anymore. And that's how we set our schedule is, this game, will we have a running clock?
Yeah.
That That's what we do.
That's
we had Schreiner and I last year on the Cox broadcast. So 9 weeks of the regular season, and I thought we had a fairly good schedule going in. I think there were 5 of the 9 games we had a running clock. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. But those Millard South, Lincoln High scores are getting more commonplace. But with that said, and that's what sucks about this, because the level of talent is really, really good right now in the Metro. And it got another jolt yesterday. And this involves Nebraska. Because Torrey Pittman III is now a 5-star.
Yeah. So he's got, now I know he released his final, is he down to the final 6 or 7? I know Oregon is on that list. I know his offer list is absolutely insane at this point. I think that's a guy who, like, Matt Rule has made his stance very clear on how he feels about in-state recruiting, and they're going to be very selective, and there's a multitude of reasons for that. But Torrey Pittman, in my opinion, much like Darian Jones, is one of those guys where, okay, it's totally fine if you are going to take your foot off the gas pedal when it comes to getting, in-state recruits and prioritizing in-state recruits. That's fine, as long as you go out and you get the top guys that can play on your team and that you're actually locating and targeting. And
do you think? But okay, so yes, I see where you're going, but you can't have a 5-star in your backyard. One of his head coaches, or one of his coaches, excuse me, is one of the best wingbacks ever to play at Nebraska and has been an advocate for Nebraska football. That's a 5-star. So a rising junior is now a 5-star. And Nebraska's in a good spot with him. So maybe you're hearing something different. Nebraska's in a really, really good spot with him. You can't have a 5-star in your backyard.
God, no.
Okay, there aren't many 5-stars that are in the state of Nebraska. 5-stars that haven't even started their junior year. So you can't say, well, if we don't get him, we'll go. He's a 5-star. Whether he plays every down like a 5-star, that's something I'll get to in a moment. But it's a big deal. So think about this. And again, I think Nebraska's in a really good spot with him. And they've done a really good job of recruiting him. And they have recruited Omaha Central very well. And Omaha Central is going to have a good roster again. It's just, can they get over the hump? Can they have less games where the flag is on the field all the time? Because they have really, really good talent, and they have a veteran quarterback, and I like B.J. Newsome, their quarterback, and they have a couple of new additions to the roster. But think about this. So Nebraska's recruitment of him, Rule has done it the right way. Rule has done the recruiting. If things pop in 2025, your 2027 class, which if you're doing the math and you're like, this year's seniors are the 2026 class, next year's seniors are the 2027 class, Nebraska could have a top 10 recruiting class buoyed by 2 guys, Torrey Pittman III and Trey Taylor.
Yeah.
If they pop and both of these guys are in the class, which one, pretty sure he's going to stay. The other one, feel good about. They could, because they'll add to it because they'll be able to have a little bit larger class. They could have a top 10 class in 2027. That's not out of the realm of possibility.
And they've put themselves too in a really good situation. And I want to go back to like the bash at the Boneyard, or the battle at the Boneyard, where that was definitely a really good moment for them in terms of recruiting top talent in the 2027 and 2028 class. And it seems like they have prioritized getting ahead of that class, of those classes, in order to put in more groundwork, because I think they know that if they're going to get a recruit and they're competing with Georgia and they're competing with Alabama and they're competing with these top programs in the country where they stand right now, they have to do more legwork. They have to put in more effort. They have to have a stronger relationship, because they don't have those old school recruiting methods that they can lean on. But I think, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, there's always pressure with this job. There's never a point in time where you're going to be the Nebraska head coach and there's not going to be pressure. But I think that Matt Rule understands that if they're ever going to do what he says they want to do, which is beat Ohio State, they got to go and get dudes. They have to make an impact nationally recruiting, right? They can't just, it's not just the whole 500-mile radius. Like, they have to go and take some guys that in the past would have definitely gone to an SEC school and been on championship contenders. And this season is so important for that because all the work that they're doing with the 2027s and 2028s, it's just off of words, right? It's not off of merit yet. It's just off of words. We're promising you that this is going to happen. We're telling you this is going to happen, but it actually has to happen.
There's one thing with Torrey, and I've seen Torrey play many times, is I need to be able to walk out of Seaman Stadium and go, man, I recognize that guy.
Mhm.
Like I always do this with hockey. Like you can tell, and it might necessarily show up on the stat sheet, but you can always tell in hockey, like if you recognize a guy, if he's memorable on the ice and you always notice him out there, that's the next step. Is there are some times that I think he takes off plays. There are also times where people just avoid him in games that I've seen with Central. So maybe he gets bored because the
Sure.
play is not, he's not involved in the play, but being a safety, he's kind of the quarterback back there. I think the next step is I notice him on the regular whenever I see Central play, but he hasn't come close to what I think he can be, because I think we gotta get focused in the right direction and every day playing football. So I'm excited to see him. I heard he's had a really good summer, to see who he's going to be as a junior. But if Nebraska's able to get that commitment, you add it to Trey Taylor. Trey Taylor is one of the best peer recruiters that you have. You could say, man, could Nebraska scratch a top 10 class?
And then what if they're
2027?
What if they're able to pull off and get another guy like Mark Matthews, or get another guy like Ahmad Hudson, or like pull off one of those big upsets when it comes to getting another 5-star? Like, when was the last time Nebraska had multiple 5-stars in one recruiting class? Would it be all the way back to the Callahan era when they did that? Because I don't think they ever had multiple.
I don't think that they've had multiple. They've had, Dylan was a recent 5-star, depending on what service you look at. But I don't think back to back, like in the same class. No.
And I think
but I don't think Trey will be a 5-star.
Okay, that's a good point.
I
think
see
what he does.
I think he'll be a solid high 4-star. Would I be surprised? No. That's probably too early to say that he might not be a 5-star. He will definitely be a high 4-star.
He plays a schedule enough this year at Carmel to where if he lights it up and just plays like one of the best quarterbacks in Illinois, that he could definitely be on the line in terms of if he just plays really, really well. But look, there's been a lot of things in terms of like why Nebraska hasn't had the success that they've previously had, and why they went on the run of 8 straight years without a bowl game. And you can point to a bunch of different problems, but the number one factor has been like they just haven't consistently been able to get just straight up dudes, just straight up like, holy crap, like this is a future All-American. Like if this doesn't work out, like what is going to happen? And another great point that you've brought up, that honestly, you're the only person that I've heard bring this up, is even when they have gotten some of those dudes, some of those top prospects, those 4-stars, they haven't developed them. They haven't been able to get them into that next level. And I think that's why this was I always supported the Rule hire, not because he was some ace recruiter, but because he was an ace developer. Like that is what he made his hay on at Temple and what he made his hay on at Baylor. Like I wrote an article when Rule got hired. If you go back and you look at some of the guys who went to the NFL, the average amount of stars was easily under 3 in terms of some of those recruiting classes. Now this has always been, I feel like this has always been the pitch for Matt Rule being successful. Look at the recruiting classes he had at Temple and Baylor. Look how he was able to develop those guys. Now imagine if you give him resources. Now imagine if he's able to get in these blue chippers, if he's able to get in these dudes. What's going to happen when he gets that top talent and then he develops that?
All right, so the players will be exciting. The attitude towards high school football in this town, not so good. I got a good question for Vers when he stops by. Iowa JD tweets at the show. Iowa JD, by the way, Iowa high school softball umpire. State championships going on in lovely Fort Dodge. So kudos to him. He might be one of the rare guys also that umpires in both the Nebraska and Iowa softball state championships. He says there is a certain extremely liberal POS, ex-superintendent OPS, that you can say thank you for a lot of the sports being uncompetitive. She single-handedly decimated Burke North with her policies. Those athletes fled to Millard and Rollside, District 66. Dr. Logan, yes. I have not found any coach, especially in football, anybody that was a high school coach in the OPS system in the fall of 2020 that has anything nice to say about her. But they do like Matthew Ray, who is the new superintendent, has been there now, I think, about a year, who was the interim and then was promoted. They do like him. He's more open to athletics and the people that say, hey, this is what we need to help us. But Cheryl Logan destroyed OPS athletics.
What did she do? What were some?
There was no athletics for
Yeah.
OPS
It just so in COVID it was just straight up
in that
canceled.
fall. Yep.
And then people just because of that they ended up going to the other high
I
schools.
mean, if you're a senior and you want to play football,
sure,
you transferred elsewhere.
That's terrible.
I mean, there are some high school football programs that will never recover because of that. Because all of a sudden their enrollment got sideways, and so we could do 4 hours. We'll save that for the Portal show back in May. All right, we'll take a break. Sam McEwen's going to join us before the hour is over. His thoughts on what he heard at Big Ten Media Days, where risk and reward. Is that why you play the game? Some say not worth it. Lincoln Riley had some interesting comments. Could Lincoln Riley single-handedly end the USC Notre Dame rivalry that has been going on since 1926?
He doesn't seem like he wants to.
I don't know. He seems to be running. I think he had his track shoes on yesterday. Sam will join us, Mike Schaefer, and then Matt Verzal as well on a Friday edition of Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Hey, don't put your track shoes on and start climbing the side of your house and look at your roof right now and saying, you know what? What do I got shingles? What do I got leakage? What's going on? Don't do it. Put your shoes away, stay on the ground, and call the experts. The MVPs of roofing in Omaha, Moose Roofing. Recent storms or storms from the past that have wrecked your roof, and you're wondering, should that be leaking? Or why, when I'm out in the backyard mowing, am I running over shingles? Well, don't even hesitate. Your most valuable asset is your home. Moose Roofing is the MVPs of roofing. Schedule an inspection today, and they will come out. They'll sit down with you. They'll get to know your needs, and then they'll go to work. They'll get up on the roof. They'll take pictures. They'll take video. They'll get in your attic. They won't stay. They'll come back down, and they'll say, this is what we found. This is what we can do. This is what we can do with your insurance company, because they have a whole department that is dedicated to that. Communication top-notch. You'll never be surprised of, oh, I didn't know. That doesn't happen. That's a belief. Pat Moose and his culture of his company at Moose Roofing, which has been in business for nearly 30 years, commercial, residential, roof repair and service. That's what they do at Moose Roofing. See what they can do for you today. For more information, go online to mooseroofing.com. Not afraid to say, I kind of like another grown man.
There's nothing wrong with
Okay,
wrong
just
with
checking.
it. There's
just
zero.
checking. Just checking. You have some standards.
No, I love a lot of
Joey?
grown men. I
Okay.
mean, there's so many grown men that I'm a big fan of. You know, Brian Urlacher, Caleb
that.
Williams, Cam Jurgens. I'm a big fan of. Jack Stoll. I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of a lot of grown humans.
You like? There's a lot of the guys you just mentioned. I immediately think of their hair. You attracted to a mullet?
I love a good
If
mullet.
a man has a mullet, does that give you a?
I'm trying to get a mullet right now. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've noticed. I've been
Yeah.
growing out the hair. Mullets are in. Mullets and porn stashes are like really like this. These ladies now in this generation really love a good porn stash and love a good mullet.
What evidence do you have?
Hinge, not a joke. So if you go on Hinge, like they have all the different like prompts and whatnot of like what girls like and what a lot. This thing keeps moving. Stop moving. One of the things is like I fall for a what, and a lot of the answers will be a porn stash and a mullet, or one of the two, or both of them combined. There are some of my friends who have rocked that style out of the bars. Never seen them do better work in their life. I don't know what it is, but this people are it's just in. It's one of
Joey,
those
do we have
things.
verification on this?
I don't.
What is Joey currently sporting right now?
I just sport whatever I grow.
I will say that's not a mullet.
Well, Joey's sporting a very nice mustache.
Yeah, but that's not a porn stash.
No, that is what
You
Joey.
could grow a goatee.
What Joey has is a burly
No.
stash. That is.
Trust me. I'm doing my best to grow whatever I can. This is the result.
I'm currently growing out my mustache.
Just look at the neck. It's kind of like a little slash on there. There's a little bulge.
Yeah. Are you not a? You're not
You'd be
a.
a neckbeard guy.
I was about to say you don't shave the neck hairs.
Oh, occasionally I do when it looks like a mess.
Nice Friday topic. But so watching Deshaun Foster yesterday, he gets my award for the comeback coach of the year from one year to another for his time last year in Indianapolis to yesterday.
Sure.
I appreciate him. I mean, they went 5-7 last year when we thought, man, they might not win many games. I mean, 5 is 5, but one of those wins was in Lincoln. Is his humor and humility and being a little self-deprecating yesterday, I think he's not going to win a press conference. I was like, you know what? That's a good dude. That's a good dude who, by the way, they had a nice little roster of football players that the NFL really, really liked. But give me, because listening to him talk about UCLA, and I also give credit to UCLA. Hey, shout out to the Bruins that they brought Nico. Because he hadn't played a snap there, but he is the story, and they know that. It would have been easier for them to keep him in Westwood and say, hey, you want to come to talk to Nico? Hey, come on out to the West Coast.
Mhm.
Instead, he brought him to media days, and his media scrum was larger than Sharon Moore and Lincoln Riley. So good for UCLA. They're like, we are all in. He's going to change our brand. We paid money for this. Let's get him in front of the media. But give me one word to describe UCLA football.
Ooh.
One word to describe UCLA football.
Um.
Because I think I watched more of UCLA stuff yesterday
You know what?
than
Sleepy.
like USC or Michigan.
Tough. I thought UCLA football was tough last season.
Overall, like
Oh.
when you think of UCLA
Oh.
football, if you want to say tough,
Sleepy.
if you want to say tough, go ahead.
I'll say overall, I think honestly second tier. It's the first thing I think of. That's kind of, and when I mean second tier in two ways. Second tier is they're not a football school; they're a basketball school. Football is the second best sport, and second tier is when you look at football teams within that state, they are the second tier behind USC. I've always thought just when I think of UCLA football, I think second.
I say sleepy because I don't see a lot of hype in UCLA football through the previous years of watching them. Just I never really get to watch them perform, and them in the Big Ten haven't really showed up for any of the big games. Obviously, they showed up against Nebraska in Lincoln. Just since the Brett Hundley era, they haven't really been a high
Go
class
back
football.
to Aikman.
Or yeah, even Aikman. They haven't been a high class football team.
Well, that's why I say paper tiger.
Ooh.
Like if you look at UCLA football, you probably think, man, UCLA football, that's pretty good. You know, and to be honest, before they joined the Big Ten, and we had back-to-back years with UCLA this year for Nebraska and get to go out to the Rose Bowl is when UCLA and Nebraska were playing, and they would pop in and they play a home and home. It was kind of cool because it was a great uniform game as well.
Yeah.
But there were some dudes playing, and there were some games that meant stuff. And then there was, an alternate jersey game that didn't go so well for Nebraska when UCLA was here when Nebraska had a big lead, but we're not going to talk about that. But when I think of UCLA, I think of Paper Tiger. Do you know how many national championships UCLA has won?
One.
Yes, 1954.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But the perception is that they have won more than that. They have not won a conference championship, and this was a really, really good team they had. And it was the Pac-10, was 98. Do you know that they have not won double-figure games in over a decade? But when I think of UCLA football, you're like, oh man, Terry Donahue, Troy Aikman,
Sure.
Kenny Easley.
Well-
you're thinking of like players. You're thinking of name just escaped me. Darnay Holmes,
Oh, yeah.
who thought he was going to come to Nebraska. But you'd think, okay, UCLA football has been. Chip
Sure.
Kelly was there. They were but they haven't. And I'm not saying they're going to all of a sudden be great this year. They're probably appropriately 12th and 13th. But that's all I can think about when Deshaun Foster was talking.
Mm-hmm.
Is UCLA football is such the paper tiger. They look great on a schedule,
Yeah.
but they're really not a great football
Well,
program.
so if you look in the last 20 years, they have finished ranked to end the year only 4 times in the last 20 seasons.
Was Bob Toledo the last head coach to have
no.
them ranked?
No, it was
Chip
Jim-
Kelly?
It was Chip Kelly. Well, during that, like, if you go to their
Bob Toledo had a good little stretch, right?
he in the 90s or late 90s, early 2000s. Jim Mora, like, so if you go and you look at their football reference page and like what they've accomplished, I've always one of the biggest indicators of like, are you performing as a program is like how many numbers do you have when it comes to AP pre, AP high, AP post, stuff like that. You go to their page, it's littered with numbers. It's littered with them being ranked in the top 10 at some points and them being preseason ranked and them having like some talented rosters, but you would never, like, if you've just been following college football, you would never think that. You would never think that, oh, UCLA pretty consistently over the last 15 years has at some point been deemed talented enough or played well enough where they're one of the top teams in the country. And it's just, I think it just always comes down to, like you say, paper tiger, but I always think it's just because they are always in the shadow of something else. They're always in the shadow of their basketball team, or they're always in the shadow of another football team that plays in their state, right? And when we think of like recruiting in, California, I would say that most kids are like probably dream up of going to USC and being a Trojan, as opposed to grow
Oregon.
up and being or going to Oregon.
They will have, by the way, UCLA will have the preseason #1 team in baseball. I don't know if the Big Ten will embrace that or not, but they just had a second-round pick of the Pirates, turned down the Pirates to go to UCLA. They're going to be really good. They'll be preseason #1. Big Ten probably will not let you know that. But like when UCLA and Nebraska were playing in the 80s and the 90s, a lot of people were bringing up Gaston Green. I think UCLA also is one of those football programs that if we said rattle off a random UCLA Bruin football player, it'd be like bang, 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 bang. And none of them would have played in the last 15 years. That's how like they were back in the day of Terry Donahue.
Mm-hmm.
But all I can think about is you look at UCLA, they show up on your schedule and people are like, hey, all right, you're playing UCLA.
Yeah.
And then you pull back the curtain and you're like, oh, what's going on? What's going on there with UCLA football? And I don't know. I mean, they've had post Terry Donahue and
Well-
even Jim Mora, like Carl Durrell was not. Chip Kelly, and they have some challenges with NIL and the state of California and the fact that they don't own Pauley Pavilion. They actually have to pay a rental fee to a student union, a student organization.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
it's wild stuff there, but I like him. I think he's an interesting person. I think he can coach football. But him yesterday, I was like, you hit a home run. Humor, humility. You recognized you made a mistake last year, and then use that to say, hey, yeah, we're in Los Angeles, and went on. And I'm like, okay, you have Nico. They spent money. They spent money to get a quarterback at UCLA that they're hoping this guy changes the perception of UCLA football.
I feel like the Nico move, if I'm being honest, has been pretty under the radar in terms of
Whoa.
well, okay,
Welcome to college football.
like
Where were you in the spring?
no, I'm saying not under the radar. The Nico story itself is not under the radar. That is very like well publicized. But I feel like him going to UCLA is a footnote in the story. It's like, oh my God, UCLA had a great skill and they took advantage of the situation. It's, yeah, Nico Mailava had all these problems at Tennessee. He forced his way out. There's all these rumors. And he ended up, playing at UCLA for less money, according to the reports and whatnot. They failed to mention the fact that after their Minnesota loss, which I think was like week 7, they were 1-5. They ended the season 5-7. So they went 4-2 to end the year. And by the way, they should have beaten, they should have won in that Minnesota game. And they played really good football against LSU. Now, I understand that they ended up losing that game to LSU by a pretty wide margin. But I think that was a really big moment for that team when they, for a good amount of that game, was playing with, at the time, a pretty highly touted LSU team. And then it was funny yesterday, Foster is on the panel in the Big Ten Network and he goes, yeah, everybody's talking about my personality and stuff like that. And that's been brought up a couple of times. It's, guys, I wasn't allowed to talk as an assistant coach. So until I haven't really been in front of people talking to humans since 2009. So it's kind of taken some time for me to adjust to that. I've just been really impressed by him. I was impressed by a lot of the coaches who talked yesterday.
They had 7 guys that were drafted last year.
I know. And then even before that, they had Leiti Latu, or no, not Latu was the Washington DN. They had the guy who went to Indianapolis, who got drafted he was the first defensive player.
Latu, yeah.
Was it Latu?
Yeah, first round in 24.
Yeah. Who was the guy? Maybe I'm thinking of a different edge rusher from Washington. But they've had some talented players. Also, too, they got Dante Moore. They were able to recruit and get the number 1 quarterback prospect, 5-star quarterback prospect to their roster, and then Chip Kelly kind of ruined him.
They had 5 guys drafted last year. So UCLA, November 8th at the Rose Bowl. Sean said he'll be there. Colin says brings up a memory of UCLA, the 86 Rose Bowl. Ronnie Harmon fumbling more times than I can count. A lot of people thought there was something shady going on with the amount of fumbles in the Rose Bowl of Ronnie Harmon that year. It was a really good Iowa team. That was the 85 Iowa team, I believe. That was really, really
shady
good.
going on.
Yeah, there's some shady stuff.
Really?
That was the allegation against Ronnie Harmon. He was just fumbling a lot. Fumbling a lot.
He was like Anthony Grant in the preseason practices heading up to 2023.
It was like Irving Fryer in the Orange Bowl in 83.
Really? I've never heard of that. 1985, there were some conspiracies.
Now, back in the 80s, you had Hulk Hogan and people possibly getting paid under the table. Allegedly. Reportedly. Sometimes.
Good thing there wasn't DraftKings for there to be a $700,000 bet for him to fumble on that exact snap.
All right, Sam McEwen joins us next. All right, our next guest, we take him away from packing for camp with extra batteries for the recorder. Make sure the phone is charged, notebook, computer is charged up because it's camp season. It's Sam McCune of the World Herald who makes a Friday appearance on the show. Good morning, Sam.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey,
I'm ready for camp too. I'm ready.
Football is here. But before we get to actual football, we have this pissing contest going on between the two power brokers in college football, the Big Ten and the SEC. 34 days from now, we all are going to be spending a Friday morning sifting through what happened at Arrowhead. Will that mean that we have 34 days to get this out of our system when we're talking about the college football playoff or scheduling? Or do you think this is going to linger for a while?
I think it's probably going to linger until they make a final decision. I sure hope that by the time the season begins, the SEC coaches have flipped that thing over to 9 games and are ready to move forward. But you never know, like sorry, I lost you there for a second. You never quite know exactly what's gonna happen with this, because you have a situation where the coaches in the SEC don't want to go to 9 conference games. They don't want the automatic access. They feel like they can game the committee. And so I think you may see the SEC say, hey, let's just let it ride. And the Big Ten's response is, okay, well, we'll let it ride, and next year we'll remain at 12 teams. That's probably the hard line. So, for all the bluster that Greg Sankey has as the SEC commissioner, he cannot convince his coaches to do what he thinks is best, which is interesting.
So if you look back in terms of the top 16 teams over the last 4 years, there's only been one league who has consistently been able to get 4 teams in every single season in that top 16, and that is the Big Ten. Yet I feel like Petitti hasn't really, put his foot down and said, hey, we're running the show and we're the best conference. My question to you isn't why hasn't he done that? My question to you is, do you think he's playing the long game potentially? Maybe he's thinking, look, I don't have to do all this propaganda. I don't have to scream from the mountaintops about my conference like Sankey. I'm just going to let this season roll out, and I know that my teams are going to win again. And when the Big Ten wins a 3rd national championship in a row, that'll be enough for me to be able to say, hey, we're going to do things my way.
A little bit. I mean, I think it's some of it's his personal style, that he's just not quite as brash and blustery as Sankey. So I do think personal style factors in. The SEC used to have a commissioner in Mike Slive who was kind of a gentleman. He was not, the late Mike Slive was not like Sankey is. And so Sankey's more like a newspaper columnist or a sports columnist or something. And so, some of it's personal style. I think some of it is, yes, let's play the long game, and if we can't get what we want here, let's try to tilt the hand in our direction. James Franklin didn't help this week when he said the worst decision the Big Ten ever made was going to 9 games. I don't know if I'm going to have time to write this. He is wrong as it relates to Penn State, because going to 9 games didn't really, outside of 2019, didn't really do anything to Penn State. The only example you can come up with since they moved to 9 games in 2016 is they lost it at Minnesota 31-26 in 2019 to a really good Minnesota team. Outside of that, what hurt Penn State over the last however many years was not 9 conference games. It was being in the same division as Ohio State and Michigan, and the Big Ten did screw that up. They should not have done that. They should not have had an overly weighted East against a weak West. They should have just had no divisions at all and had a 9-game schedule that did not require Penn State to play Michigan and Ohio State every year. But it doesn't help when he says that, because it makes it seem as if the real problem is that the Big Ten has 9 games. And again, I don't think I'm going to have time to write it. If you crunch the numbers, their record against the Big Ten West, the 9th game was a crossover game, is really good. So, if anything, they just added a win to their ledger over the course of those years. Now it might not be the same because they don't have the divisions anymore. But I don't know. I think there's a clear... So one thing that's happening in the sport, guys, is we're not necessarily going to take as gospel from now on everything a coach wants or says. The sport is changing, and it's tilting more toward, well, for one thing, money. So TV money, and it's already done that, and it's tilting more toward the players. And so a lot of times what we do in the college sports beat, because the coaches are the people who stay and the players are the ones who are often gone after 4 years, is we kind of are like, well, the bellwether of the program is the coach. That's changing. That's changing. It's not going to be that way as much as it used to be, where it's like, well, where's the coach thing happen? And then that's what happened. No, it's not going to be that simple going forward. And I think coaches are still adjusting. I think the SEC, I think Greg Sankey's still adjusting. Like, he should just be able to say, it doesn't really make any difference what your coaches think. This is what we're going to do. But I don't think that the league is there yet, and I don't know that fan bases are necessarily there yet. And I don't think the media is there yet, because there's still a lot of media people who are like, yeah, the SEC playing 8 games is exactly the way it should be, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of media who believe that.
Hey, let's talk about the current guy in Lincoln. It's the head coach, and this may be a media day phrase, but he said we're close to fixed as he begins his 3rd season, his 3rd camp. What is left that you think in his mind they haven't fixed yet?
The on-field doing of the things that they've planned out. So the actual doing of it. And he's talked about that, going out and doing it, the execution. I think maybe confidence to do it. He's been very confident, bordering on cocky in last weekend Big Ten Media Days. I mean, he didn't say it to the full media, but he said that the Nebraska's defensive line is going to be hell on wheels. Well, okay. I like the sound of that. And if that may well be true, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying that, like, he's saying Nebraska's defensive line, which has got a lot of young guys, is going to be hell on wheels. Okay, then I look forward to seeing it. So I think what he's trying to do there, though, is I think he's trying to infuse his guys with confidence. He's like, it's time. There can't be any more flinching. There can't be any more blinking. There can't be any more, we're not sure we're going to do it. I think Nebraska went to a bowl game. They beat Wisconsin. They won their bowl game. They ended the season on an up note. They had a good time at the bowl game. They had a really good spring camp. They got a bunch of guys who are rule guys, and their culture is strong. Why not win as many games as you can? And why not believe that you can? And so I think the thing that's left to drop into place is confidence and execution and the special teams component. So the punter and the kicker and the punt return scheme. Like, those 3 things are still out there. The punter's got to work out. The kicker's got to put his wedge on the green, and your return game's got to be better than it has.
Last year, Nebraska averaged 54 penalty yards per game. It was 83rd out of 134 teams in the country. What do you think are some aspects, and are you confident that because it's the 3rd year of Matt Rule and the culture setting and all that stuff, another year of Dana, however you want to put it, that number could go down significantly this year?
It depends on the kinds of penalties that you're talking about. There are some really good teams that are pretty heavily penalized. And the reason is they play with their hair on fire, and they pick up aggressive penalties. And I don't know that a coach is ever going to tell you that he'll live with it, but there might be a play in a game where it's like bang, bang, and a safety launches. I don't know. Maybe it's targeting, maybe it's a late hit, maybe it's something, but it sets a tone. And sometimes those are 15 yards that you're willing to take if it's 1st and 10 from the 20. I'm not saying, again, they're not going to say that, but like, the nature of the sport is sometimes you're going to get some physical penalties. The ones that drive you up the wall are the pre-snap, the procedural issues, the jumping off sides, the not having 12 men on the field, those kind of things. And I think they've gotten better at that. I think Dylan's actually pretty good at managing the offense and going out there and not he actually has a pretty good handle on those things. Like, it doesn't happen that often with him, because I think he's kind of dialed into that stuff. So I think they've improved there. Honestly, that was a major issue in the Frost era. I mean, it was
Offensive
false
line, yes.
starts, and oh my God, it was just ridiculous. I mean, couldn't get snaps right, and then you saw it in the one game, Colorado in the Rule era, and then they kind of cleaned some of that stuff up until Sims came back against Maryland. But Sims was struggling with the operation. But I don't know. I probably around 35, 40 yards a game would be great, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what Ohio State's penalty yards were last year. They probably weren't the lowest in the country. Usually the lowest is like Navy, and Iowa's up there too, because these teams play kind of slow, and Iowa doesn't play with a lot of leading edge. They have a 4-man pass rush, and they have a shell pass defense. So, it kind of depends on the style you play. I think Nebraska's probably going to have some defensive penalties this year based on who John Butler is. They're going to have some late hits. They're going to hit a quarterback a half step late, and the flag's going to come out. And I'm just saying that if you hit that quarterback a half step late and you're up 10-0 in the first quarter, and the thing he's thinking about the rest of the game is getting hit like that again, it might be 15 yards you're willing to take.
So going back to something you said about with Rule and the defensive line, and I think that's also to instill some confidence in those guys that I'm behind you, because there are a lot of questions. But there's another thing that was said in Vegas that has me intrigued, and you could convince me that this could happen. Your thoughts when Deshaun Singleton says that his group of fellow DBs could be elite. That is an intriguing, deep position, Sam.
I agree with him. I think I don't think he's bluffing there. I think there's a real chance for them to be really good. And there's a couple reasons, but like one of them is experience, and a lot of 4th-year guys, 5th-year guys, older guys that kind of understand college football. And the other one is if you take Hartzog off the field, and I don't know that Hartzog will go off the field all the time, but there will be times when he's not. This is a pretty long secondary, and so you have the ability to go really long if you want. Like, you can put Bly Hill out there at corner, and then you'd have Singleton, and you'd have Sierra, who's about 6'1", 6 foot. Andrew Marshall's pretty physical, but a lot of it is they have a lot of physical, hungry, aggressive guys. I think if you look at the talent they have there, but also just the attitude. I watched a lot. Andrew Marshall's is a good player. He's going to play at Nebraska. I watched a lot of Jameer Khan too, and Khan is fearless. He played at Southern Illinois, but they played some teams. They played North Dakota State and BYU. You can go back and watch basically those entire games, and Khan shows up again and again. And what you're looking for is, okay, as a guy when he's coming up to make a tackle, is he hitting people? And the answer is yes. So they've got a lot of depth there, and I think they've got a lot of physicality. Singleton is a physical guy, and so I think they feel really good about where they're at, and they are going to be very good there. I think the defensive line has to come through, and by that I'm kind of talking run defense, but I'm also talking like pass rush. Like, okay, you got the pass rushes. Let's see it. Let's see Keona Davis go get 5 this year. Let's see McCullough get 7. Not 3, 5 and 7. And so those numbers, I think, are important to watch.
It's a great point, because I think the exact number is about like 24.5 sacks is what they're losing from last season to this season when you factor in the graduations and the portals and everything like that. Now, Sam, you brought up something about the confidence, right? That Matt Rule has consistently talked about, I want to instill confidence in these guys, and they have to be confident. And this is a couple of times now with multiple players, and now just the team in general, where he feels the need that he's got to get in front of the media and say, hey, I need to say these things so they know that I'm confident in them and I believe in them, even though he could just kind of say in a private area or in the locker room or whatever that, hey, like, I'm confident you can do this. Is that a tool that works? Have you found that maybe when coaches get up on the podium and they get on the national stage and they say their players' names and they say how confident they are in the team, that has more maybe of a positive effect as opposed to just kind of saying it privately amongst them in the locker room?
Yeah, it depends on the player to some degree. But I think most players respond to praise, public praise, pretty well. And so I think it's that, and I think it's also I think he genuinely believes they're going to be a good team. I think maybe the one thing that he feels like they need to believe is that these guys need to believe that, and that like there's nobody on the schedule that they need to kind of shrink away from. And there is a little bit of where did he say it at? Again, I don't know if it was on Sports Nightly or something, but like I think they were often too opponent dependent. Like they came into the locker room against Ohio State, they were down, but they were fired up. Like, hey, we're standing toe to toe with Ohio State. And a week later, they're behind against UCLA by 6. They didn't play well, and they're panicking because they're getting booed and all this other stuff. And it's like that seems more opponent dependent than anything. Like, well, I don't know. And then they really got behind the 8 ball. If everybody remembers, it was 27-7 in the third quarter. It looked like they were going to get blown out, and they kind of made a late comeback, but mostly because of a UCLA penalty that UCLA shouldn't have picked up. But it's a good example of how the team is too emotion dependent based on who they're playing. And you have to find a way out of that. You've got to find a way to believe that you're a good team and that your standard is your standard, and you're playing to that standard irrespective of the team that's on the field against you.
It'll be interesting. All right, Sam, get some sleep over the weekend because 8:30 Monday morning, we're out on the field. We can watch the start of practice to begin the year.
Can't wait.
All right, just don't keep track of stats, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an NFL thing. Leave it for them.
And stay off the sideline, too. Don't get on that white line.
Sam,
no stats. Okay.
No stats. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Yeah. We've done that. We're doing that in the NFL. See what the Giants did?
No. Did they release their own?
No.
Okay.
So media that covered the Giants, taking videos. Jackson Dart's first throw was a pick 6. They were keeping stats. There's been a couple other camps like the Browns that are keeping stats. So people are like, come on, man.
Did you see Aaron Rodgers' first throw?
He got intercepted.
Camp?
Yes. At least he acknowledged it. He talked about it.
Do you know what? Caleb Williams threw a pick yesterday. And do you know what I thought? This is me in denial. I remember back in 2019, there was this little quarterback in Kansas City. And all they were writing about was he's throwing so many picks. He doesn't look that good. He doesn't understand the complicated offense. He's making too many mistakes. Then what happened? That little quarterback, his name was Patrick Mahomes. He ended up winning the MVP that year.
Yeah. That second training camp at St. Joe for Mahomes, he was 59 of 61 at one stretch. And the 2 that he did not were dropped.
That is crazy.
I'm just making that
okay. I was about to say.
We also probably with the NFL after the news of Justin Fields. Stand down, Adrian Martinez. Justin Fields with his toe injury apparently is going to be okay. We probably the NFL media need to, when you say a guy is being carted off, maybe walk gingerly.
Yeah, maybe pump the brakes a little bit.
All right, our number 3 coming up next on a Friday. Gary, Matt, Joey in for Jimmy, who's away on paternity leave on 1620 The Zone. Man, for the days of MTV. Welcome back in. It is 8:05 on a Friday morning, 4 weeks from tomorrow. Farmageddon. Kansas State against the Poverty Program. Iowa State over in Dublin. Did not see Iowa State was the first to publicly say, we got some financial issues. They could have a $150 million deficit in the next 6 years with the rev share and everything else that is going on. Their athletic director, Jamie Pollard, who has been pretty vocal about challenges that Iowa State are facing. I think he tried to play the Ross Bjork line yesterday when he said that publicly.
What is that?
So Ohio State said, we need this amount of money.
Oh, sure.
So I don't know, if you're a booster and an athletic director lays it on the line of what the financial difficulties are, and he uses scare tactics, are you more likely to say,
Yes.
I'll take care of you, or go, you know what, AD guy, that's your job. Go raise some money.
Yes.
But watch the Iowa State situation. They had to pause some of the things they're doing with Hilton Coliseum. This is the way he laid it out. It's not like today. They're like going to shut it down. They got to declare for bankruptcy, and all the Nebraska players that committed to Iowa State are now going to come back to Nebraska. It's basically over about a 6-year stretch that Iowa State's going to have some financial challenges.
I think it's got to be such a tough spot to be as a donor when you have a situation like that, because I imagine if you were a big donor for a university, there are a lot of people who know you're a big donor or who might be aware of the fact that like you give money, right?
Do I look like a donor?
No, you
I am
don't.
technically a donor.
Well, like I'm talking big donor.
Whoa.
I'm talking Gary. No offense. I'm talking
Whoa.
about millionaire.
Hey,
you know,
when
Walmart
they
family
zap my checking account and they take that out of there, yeah.
Look, I will act like the athletic director for Nebraska real quick. We love all our donors the same. We treat them all the same. We love them all equally. Whether you give $1 or whether you give $1 million, we thank you so much for your support. But when we're talking, I'm talking about like big, Walmart family, Kraft family, maybe I guess for Nebraska, Pede family type donors, right? People might know who you are. And when the athletic department has a call for help, I imagine that there are probably some people around them who are like, hey, Todd, we know you got a lot of money. We know you've donated to them before. You're going to do it? You're going to bail out Iowa State? Like, I wonder if there's actually like some peer pressure.
That's what they did at Ohio
donors.
State. They basically said, this is what we need for our roster. This is kind of where we are, those Olympic sports, and you have a much larger base at Ohio State, and people came through. People may not be aware of how much challenges you are financially, like numbers. Like they put numbers on yesterday. They're not alone. I think there are more Iowa States out there than you would be led to believe. They're just the ones that put a number out there and it's like, okay, well, and here we are.
And if that's the truth, like if I was a donor, I would be like, first off, I want to see the papers. Like first off, I want to see your math. Like, are you
think so?
Oh God.
Like
yeah.
if you're a donor, you're like, okay, I get it. Aren't you?
No, I'm not because
ISU.
No, because the ROI on NIL is just, unless you are a business and you're like, hey, we are giving you this money and this person is going to do this commercial, right? Then yeah, the ROI was there. But when we're just talking about, hey, give us money for a bailout or give us money to help support us, it's the ROI is not existent. There's no return on investment. So if I'm just giving you money, I need to first off see, hey, where's your work? Like, are you actually going to be in $120 million deficit in 6 years? Or maybe are you blowing it up? And secondly, I want to know, what is your plan? Like, after I give you this money, right? After I give you this millions of dollars, what is your plan to get out of
the
this?
Big 12?
Well, because if I give a athletic department $5 million, right, to help bail them out, and a bunch of people do that, and then what's the point if 14, 15 years later they come knocking back on my door and they go, oops, we did it again. Like we're in another deficit. Like if I'm a donor, like bailing you out and I'm not getting an ROI on that, I want it.
As a recent college graduate, are you not getting phone calls from the School of Journalism in Lincoln?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those don't end.
I know.
Those continue all the time. And I hope that you are donating back, by the way.
I will at some point.
Well, why haven't we?
Well, I haven't paid off my student. I'm still paying back.
You got a full-time job.
I'm still paying back
Oh,
what
take
I
care
owe.
of the up and coming Matt McMasters.
They don't. I'm going to tell you something right now. They're like $100 that I might give them. It wouldn't even buy like a microphone at the College of Journalism. I will give back to my school at some point. I really do. I swear to God, I will do that. At some
So we
point.
apologize to that 19-year-old in the School of Journalism that has the list and he has to call all the recent alums. Like, bro,
Give me 2 years.
I got no money. I was like, whoa, it says right here how much money you got. The other thing about, and this is, when you look at a school like Nebraska, which is self-sustaining, I think there is a law in the state of Iowa, and this pertains to Iowa and Iowa State, that you cannot use student fees. So this is a discussion that's happening on a lot of campuses, and especially at Minnesota, is that students are supplementing the athletes.
Yeah.
I think there was a state law. I will check this because I've heard a discussion before about Iowa State's finances. You cannot use student fees for the athletic program. Not that it's a choice. It's just, I think it's a state law.
So I've talked about this with a lot of my friends of, would you be willing to pay $200 more of tuition a year in order to support the athletic department? And the guys who love sports say, you know what? Yeah, like I would, because I'm going to go to the basketball games. I'm going to go to the football games. I'm going to go to the baseball games. I want there to be the best product there possibly can be. And so if that means that I have to pay $200 extra a year to do that, that's worth it to me. I then did ask some people who don't like sports, like, hey, what do you think if they were actually to like charge it? Gary, they told me hell no. They're like, I don't go to the games. There's some, I was friends with some people.
By the way, I am pro student fees should not support athletics.
And there were some friends of like, and this always irked me about the University of Nebraska. Okay. There were people who would be on campus who would be wearing Creighton stuff, right? Or who would be on campus and they would be wearing other college stuff. They would be wearing stuff of other colleges. And that always really irked me. It really bothered me because I was always like, you go here. Like, this is your school. Like, you should have pride in, like, you shouldn't be. I didn't wear like any other school stuff when I was on campus or anything like that, because I was like, I go to the University of Nebraska. This is my school. This is who I'm dedicated to. And I think that there are definitely some people on campus who, like, they don't even, I knew people who didn't even root for Nebraska sports, who didn't give a damn about Nebraska sports, who, if you were to tell them, hey, we're going to up our tuition, we're going to up our fees, right, for our athletic department to do well, they'd be like, absolutely not. That's not my problem. That's your problem. That's a whole other wing. I'm not going to be a part of that. So all this to say, like, I agree. I don't think it should be blanketed. But if a student wants to be like, hey, I'd be willing to give a little bit more to tuition or in tuition in order to support the athletic department, if they wanted to do that, if they wanted to add that to their thing, that's their decision. That's their choice. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying that it should, like, I agree with you. I don't think it should. I don't think you should just be being like, oh, now that we have these added costs, you have to give us more money to support the athletic department. But if a student really, really wanted to do it.
Let me see here. What are the fees in Lincoln? They have one more year of this. Well, tuition's going up. I don't know. I mean, we would say you would opt in. Now in Nebraska, it's not even a discussion.
Yeah,
you can't do that in Nebraska.
Sure.
Well, you just can't.
No, I know.
Because it's self-sustaining. It's on its own.
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna get it. You're not gonna get the kind of people you think that are gonna opt in.
No, I don't think you will either. I think the only way for it to make, if you're really gonna make an impact, I'm like, hey, we're gonna make a dent in this thing. You're gonna have to have everybody like all hands on deck and have a pretty like decent fee in terms of what you're adding to tuition. So I agree
mean, there's
with
already
you in
enough
that
people
regard.
that are like, why do I have to supplement with student fees the Daily Nebraska?
There's a lot of,
there's a
lot of fees in general where you're like, what the hell
Yeah.
are we doing here? Like, why are we paying this? Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never understood, like, I've had to spend close to $1,000 on books before, right? Like, it was a lot of money to spend on books. What are you shaking your head about?
Continue.
What are you shaking your head about? Did I not do
No,
it
this
right?
is going to be real world here. I'm very enlightened to hear you realize stuff about real world.
Well, it's just like when I was there in college, and it's like I'm looking at what my student debt is going to be, and I'm looking at like the things that I'm going to have to pay for and whatnot. And then I already have my money that I saved up from the summer. And then I go up to the cashier and they're like, hey, it's going to be like close to $600 for all of your books for the year. I'm like, what the hell am I paying all this tuition for anyway? Like, this isn't covered in the cost. Like, I have to pay all these other additional fees that cost a lot of money. Like that was a moment for me where I was like, damn, okay. Like, I have to like think about this differently and stuff like that. And then you go through, I mean, when you do like the dining dollars and whatnot, you're kind of like, you really had to like make sure that you were like utilizing like all the money that they were giving you, because you wasted a lot of money if you like didn't do those. Like, it was just a lot of overcharge stuff in college in general.
Joey?
I'm pretty lucky because I did not have to deal with a lot of fees going into college in my 5 years at UNO. I had stuff paid for already, and I didn't have the best academic standing like going out of high school. And I graduated with summa cum laude honors.
Who's
But-
she?
Who's
No,
she?
summa cum laude is it's not a person, it's an honor,
It's a high honor.
the highest honor.
You people that had ropes in a different robe. So
But yeah, I probably spent
I was
about
cum
up to
laude.
$1,000 on those textbooks.
I
that
know.
I barely used in college.
Like I was sitting there and I was like, I'm paying this university
For-
close to $100,000 over the next 4 years. Do I really have to come and take the money that I made over the summer and give it all back to you so I can have these textbooks? Which, by the way, I learned halfway through my sophomore year, I'm not even using them anyway.
It's mostly for the gen eds that
Yeah.
it's not going to apply to your career field.
And then you go back and you barely use it, and then they're like, oh, you can return it back, and we'll buy it back for 20% the amount, and then we'll sell it for 70% more than we paid for it. Like it was crazy.
were you dreaming of still being back in school in Chicago?
No,
You're like,
God,
it's such
no.
a better life.
God no.
I don't have to make choices.
No, because
I don't have
the-
to pay for anything.
I'm just glad I did not have to.
I
I
don't
did not
Absolutely
transfer
not.
to
I
Ohio
have to
State like my
realize
sister
that
did.
maybe I should have looked for used books, not the
See,
regular
I
books,
didn't.
or get the online version.
My senior year, I literally didn't buy a book. I didn't buy one book. I just I went off of the PDFs and I went off the onlines, and when I needed to print stuff up, I print stuff up.
Good old technology.
You know, but like
coming in clutch.
freshman year, I like worked my ass off to have a bunch of spending money, and then I walk up to that register in the bookstore, and they're like, "Yeah, that'll be like $600," and I'm like, "What?"
So you thought the books were going to be for
I
free?
wasn't. No, I didn't think that. But $600 and like hundreds of dollars, like even $300 to $400 for just like freshman year, like just college student is a lot of money to then be like, and then like I told you before, you sell them back and then they resell them and then they just keep
Oh, I
making a
know.
profit.
Oh,
on
What
it.
are the
I know.
conditions of the books you got, and how new were they?
They were so that there you go, Joey. Because I was
Because
a
it dep-
dummy
Depends
and I
on
bought
if
like
they're
the new
or old.
books, you know, and then it turned into all right, I'll buy the old books, and then it turned into I'm going to buy no books.
You know how to save money?
No, I don't.
Go online and rate my professor. See if the students use their textbooks or not.
What? We're going after some guys or gals' tenure
No.
now
Whoa,
because their
whoa.
books. They don't have. I don't think they have no bearing on how much a textbook costs.
No, but
Talk to the Nebraska bookstore.
but you could tell. No,
R.I.P.
Joey's right. Because there would be people who would be like, hey, by the way, you don't have to use the book in this class.
Yeah,
So you don't have
right.
to buy the
Mhm.
book. Rate My Professor was great for picking classes. It was a legitimate tool.
They did not have that.
It's
when I
like
was
the
in
Yelp.
school.
It's like the Yelp
Oh,
of
yeah.
college.
Shout out Matt Waite. He always had a high Rate My Professor. I was like, all right, I want Matt Waite classes.
All right, this was very enlightening.
What do you mean? I mean, we were just talking about student fees and trying to relate it to like athletics. I
Like,
would
I
much
could just see your
rather.
reaction walking up to the counter at the
God.
Union bookstore.
I had to call my mom.
You were not prepared to go to college, were you? Did
God,
anybody not give you
God,
the
no.
101s of, hey, you know what? Now you're on your own.
Here's the thing: a global
It's going to cost you, being an out-of-state student, $29,000 a year to go to UNL.
a global pandemic was happening when I began college, so there wasn't really the crash course of like, hey, this is how you have to operate, because we all were afraid we were going to die or contract some sort of disease.
Yeah, the pandemic was dead center
It-
in my
Did
my
you
year.
did you ever look at your housing bill, your first and second semester?
No, God, no.
I mean, you're probably 10,000 in.
Oh well, so it was 11. It was 11,000 is what.
Oh,
they
you're
said it
bougie.
would
Were you
be.
in the suites?
No, I was not. I was in Shram. I was a Shram kid.
Whew.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was
Well-
slumming it, man. I didn't have a roommate either. I was in my own room because I got sick and my roommate thought I had COVID. And so they moved him to a
Ooh,
separate room.
Good fake.
I had a cold. I didn't have COVID. It was great.
job.
And then he goes, "Hey man, like they offered, the room I was staying in, they offered for me to stay in there. What do you think? I'm thinking about moving there." I go, "Man, I'd hate to lose you. I'd hate it, But maybe, for us to be safe, you do." He goes, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move into that room." I'm like, "Great, cool, sounds great." So I had my own dorm. Sick.
All right, before the hour's over, Nebraska got a Creighton player in college basketball. I'll tell you about when we return. You guys are like, what?
What? I'm
I'll
so
explain
confused.
it. I'll explain it. Nebraska got a Creighton guy.
I think I know where you're going. I think I know the path you're sledding on.
The sledding.
Yeah.
All right. Also, we are so back in this country. So back. Might be a little rough with the celebrity deaths.
I
Let's
was
just
about
take
to
the weekend
say.
off. But we are so back. People wonder about this country. And then in a capital city yesterday, we were reminded this is a great country and we are so back. I'll explain coming up next. It's Gary and Matt with Joey on 1620 The Zone. and you're waiting, this is it. This is the last weekend and without football until mid-February 2026.
Yeah. You got
Yeah.
You got the Hall of Fame game next week. That always gets me fully husked. I'm always
That's football.
okay.
That
The
still
Hall of Fame
qualifies as
ceremony
But
fires
then
me up.
after the Hall of Fame game,
Joey,
like
you like Canton.
I like Canton.
That's twice you've referenced that this morning.
I've been to the museum a
Huh?
long time ago. Pretty nice. It was before the stadium had that renovation.
how many preseason games are you watching?
I'm watching all 3
You know what?
because it's on KATV News Watch 7.
There you go.
I'll
Go
watch.
Pack, go!
I'll watch. Maybe not all of them.
Okay.
I mean, like not I will watch all of them,
Sure.
but maybe not all of them from start to finish,
See,
except for the last one.
I probably watch 2 full games.
Yeah.
But I watch about 1 quarter of like 8 different games. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
NFL
saying?
Network is great because doesn't the NFL Network have every single preseason game,
Yes.
whether
Almost every game.
live,
They do.
whether
Almost every
live or replay?
Yeah.
Almost every game.
Those
Yeah.
were
It's football.
producing those were a pain in the ass.
You were at the
Because it's
NFL
like-
Network?
No. When you had to produce them for radio.
Oh,
And they were like, they were kind of stumbling over like, who the hell is this and who the hell is that? You got 90 guys like on the roster, and it's like you're sitting
Oh,
there, and by the
yeah.
time you get to the fourth quarter, it's like 11:30 at night, and you're like, why the hell are we still here when like this dude who's never going to play a snap of NFL football in his life is running all over the place?
Hey, the good thing about preseason football is you get to see the players that normally don't get the chance to play in
Yeah.
the regular season. It's stress-free football. You get to see those.
It is. Yeah,
Get it.
people will watch
opportunity
the
to-
Giants for Fedoni.
Yeah, there you
he had a
go.
good catch yesterday.
They'll watch the Eagles for Ty.
Yeah,
You'll watch the guys that are a little bit farther down on the roster to see if they play and what they do.
It's
and-
mainly the Nebraska
Yeah.
guys.
Hey, calling a spring game in college football when we had real spring games and calling a preseason game where you have 90 on the roster, that's not easy to do. I don't know if you guys noticed this on your timelines yesterday with the passing of Hulk Hogan. So he passes away and everybody's sharing memories and the debate of The Rock and Hogan in WrestleMania 18, if that's one of the greatest pops that wrestling has ever had. Wild that those two at that level were wrestling at WrestleMania. Or you had Derek Moore of Michigan, who was crushing Ohio State yesterday out in Vegas. That is such a great rivalry.
That's incredible.
By the way, Logan Jones, Council Bluffs Lewis Central Titan. I think they're the Titans. Threw a little shade at Nebraska. He likes playing at Memorial Stadium. Said it's cool. He likes when they kick field goals. Telling you, Nebraska's up 40, onside kick. Then you also had yesterday, I think one of the hardest pictures of all time that has come across my timeline.
Whoa, hardest pictures.
Yep. We take you to Florida.
Oh God.
People say Florida is not real. I've lived there. I still live there. It is real. Sometimes it's not. Some of us are Floridians don't think Tallahassee is real, even though it's the state capital. Sometimes referred to as Tallatrashy.
You referred to it yesterday on the crossover as Tallatrashy.
I got to protect my Miami and Florida friends. That's how they refer to the home of the Knowles.
I respect it.
If you've not seen yet, Charles Entertainment Cheese was arrested in Tallahassee yesterday in front of kids. So this individual has a little problem with credit cards.
Yeah, a little might be an understatement.
He committed a crime when the real crime is the pizza that Chuck E. Cheese serves. But
Whoa. There is no way you're going to get away with that.
that is
It's great pizza.
Oh my!
It is the pizza of my childhood. That is incredible. Do you know they sell frozen
Yeah.
Chuck E. Cheese pizza now? It's awesome.
Are you still a child?
Up for debate?
The crime is the garbage that they sell. But you know what? When you're young and you got rats running around that are all furry and have a big smile and bruised cheeks, and they ran Showbiz Pizza out of business. Well, actually, I think they bought Showbiz Pizza and it became Chuck E. Cheese. That's the crime. You don't say at your age, that's a great pizza.
It is okay. I haven't had it in a decade. It's like one of those movies. You ever have those movies you watched them growing up and you remember it being a great movie, and then you grow up and you're told, hey, it actually isn't great, but you never rewatch it because you don't want those memories of you as a kid to be ruined.
Yeah.
Right? That is this pizza. I will never have the pizza again. I will never eat it. I will never consume it because I remember it as it being very good pizza, and I don't want that memory to be ruined.
Served
We
its
all do.
purpose.
I thought Showbiz Pizza was fantastic. I was 8 years old. Okay, and I thought,
Wait, so Chuck E. Cheese was something
I
before
thought-
Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they bought Showbiz Pizza,
Oh my God! I had no
and it
clue.
became Chuck E. Cheese. Oh no, I was all in on Billy Bob. I wanted Billy Bob, but I could say, you know what, guys, for our fantasy football draft, I need to go find a bunch of cardboard. I could go to Chuck E. Cheese and buy their pizza and turn it over where the crust was facing you, and we could have our fantasy draft there.
That's not
because
true.
that's what that pizza is. But you know what? As a little kid, you could care less because you got this rat running around.
Well,
But yesterday he was arrested.
first off, you know that picture is going to be in every fraternity house. Like there are
Oh.
going to be guys who take
Oh.
that, put it on a flag, and it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be absolutely
They
incredible.
did it in front of the kids.
It's awesome.
Can you imagine the
Well-
horror if you are at Charles Entertainment Cheese?
Why are you calling him his government name?
Because
why are
he's
you
now-
using his gubby?
He's now a felon.
Well, that in particular,
Yeah, you
Chuck.
try him as an adult.
yeah, not all Chucks are felons.
Charles Entertainment Cheese is a
You know?
felon.
Do you think they kept?
Do you think he takes his mugshot with the head on?
No. Well, they took the head off
I know.
before he got into the car.
Mascot 101. Never let
Well-
go of the head. The head can never come off. But they arrested him in the store,
Oh, it's great.
and the kids are horrified
I think, hey, welcome to real life, kids. Welcome to real life.
that a
great lesson.
furry rat gets arrested
Yeah.
in front of you.
Even your heroes can commit crimes. Even the people that you love and trust the most can end up being some bad individuals.
One of the pictures,
I
you
mean,
have
we
the
got
kids right in the background, just looking over from the
Yeah.
seating.
Hey, we
area.
got that motif twice yesterday with Hulk Hogan and Chuck E. Cheese. What are the difference? Both childhood heroes that you look up to, that you absolutely adore, that you end up finding out may not be as good as you once believed them to be.
What did you ask? What's the difference between Hulk Hogan and Chuck E. Cheese?
Well, what was the difference between Hulk Hogan
Well,
and Chuck E. Cheese?
I don't believe that you could be racist in being Chuck E. Cheese
I
and
think
for
you-
that business to stay open.
I think you'd be surprised. I think you'd be
You think
shocked.
Chuck E. Cheese is racist?
No, I think that you could still be racist and have businesses run plenty.
But I'm talking about the character.
I mean, there
The
could
character.
be a racist guy under the mask of Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, I don't know. I've never been in an interview
I'm going to
before.
give credit to. I'm going to say that that probably in the vetting process to put the man in the costume, it probably comes out because I don't think they like to. I think they like everybody at Chuck E. Cheese. They just don't like making good pizza for people that are older than 8.
Well, clearly that the vetting process isn't that good, considering the fact that he got arrested in the store.
I want to know in the mugshot, does he have the bottom part of the costume on? Because he got arrested in front
I
of the
would
kids.
think.
He got walked out like it was a perp. He's now a felon, but we are so back. We are so back. Like you're doom scrolling and you're like, oh man, there's another celebrity. And then you're like,
No, he
what-
wasn't.
What got arrested? Oh yes.
They took him out of the costume.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they took him out.
Oh.
Now I do.
Does he
want,
have a real name?
no, his name is Chuck E. Cheese. That's his real name. Let me see. This is definitely going to be. Let's see. Blah blah blah. Chuck E. Who arrested Chuck E. Cheese? Kim Zan, the Tallahassee report.
Okay, Billy
I
Bob.
can't- oh, Jermel J. Jones.
Yeah.
Is his name Jermel J. Jones?
That would almost be a better character name than Chuck E. Cheese. I
That's a
know that I would
triple
be
J.
scarred for life if I would have seen Billy Bob get arrested after he got done with his set on the stage.
I think they need to. This is a great opportunity for Chuck E. Cheese to bring back the fat Chucky. Because there used to be the bigger Chucky. There used to. So growing up, when I was probably 2 to 8, there was the big Chucky. Like he had some pounds on him and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then about
Lost
the
weight.
time, Joey, you're probably about 12. I think I was about 10. They had the skinny Chucky, the hip Chucky, the younger Chucky. He's skinnier and his ears are bigger or whatever. I always thought that the new Chucky was way scarier than the fat Chucky.
Well, I don't know many rats that are skinny. I think rats got to be fat.
They like
I
to
don't know
eat.
how many rats wear jeans.
Uh,
Did Master Splinter, was he wearing jeans?
I know a lot of rats, and they do wear jeans. They also wear very nice shirts, and they work at corporations.
They work at the Big Ten.
Oh,
or the SEC or anything like that.
Whoa.
Making jokes.
Whoa. Tony Petitti is not a rat.
No, he's not. He's not.
Tony Petitti is just a guy that can't afford to lose here and what he has dug his heels into.
And Tony Petitti is also a guy who's had circles run around him by other commissioners.
The Big Ten loses the talking season, but they win on the field.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be nice if they won the talking season too?
Well, I mean, once the commissioner of the SEC tweets out their logo and its TOC, the other conference.
God, he's on a heater.
I don't know that you have a response to that, but I will say I kind of like James Franklin at the media days. I also think this. So a particular football coach one time and went to the media days and he said straight to the questions. I think they need to do that with opening statements now. I think they need to go straight to the questions. No opening statements. Whoa. You know what? I don't want to hear about your GPA. I don't want to hear about culture. I don't want to hear about your wife who traveled with you. I don't want to hear about your AD. Save that for somewhere else.
Don't be a curmudgeon.
But if I'm on the podium, let's get straight to questions because people have filibusters and then they look at the moderator. Do we have time for one question? Coach. Yeah, just one. And then it's some guy asking a question that nobody wants, So let's just go straight to the questions. Okay, get up there and go, hey, here is Luke Fickell now going into his third year as the head football coach at Wisconsin. Luke Fickell comes up and he goes, glad to see everybody. Let's first start with the guy on the right. He has a question, and then we have 14 minutes of questions.
Maybe the little, some familiar faces, some not so familiar faces who just want to say, we're really looking forward to having the season. Bang. I like a little bit of an opening statement.
Just have a time limit.
Yeah. Do a 1 minute,
just
a
have
minute.
Like a clock.
Mr. Speaker, you have the minute for a minute and a half.
At the College World Series, when they do those pressers, I think they allocate 90 seconds to the head coach for an opening statement.
Yeah, I love that.
And then,
bang, do that.
No, there's no football coach out there that can do 90 seconds of an opening statement.
3 minutes would be good enough.
The next thing you know, they're thanking the person that is
there was only a program. To be fair though, it was only PJ Fleck. You're talking about. You're complaining about PJ Fleck. PJ had a 14-minute opening statement in which he was talking about his players thrifting, shirts and buying cars and all that type of stuff and talking about grandmas.
Straight to questions. Get up there. Maybe you don't have to make it as awkward as the one guy did in Indianapolis not too long ago. You just, you welcome everybody. You say, hey, thank you. We're looking forward to this season. I will now take some questions. I'm there. I'm at media days. Because that's the stuff that's carried on BTN. And you look at it and you go,
David Braun went long.
What did we learn?
I get bored by David Braun. I listen to David Braun for 4 minutes. And at that point I go, you know what? I really don't care anymore.
Hey, I mean, it's a good football program. You get your starting quarterback from last year just in the last couple of weeks said, nah, I'm good. I'm going to play baseball.
He's not going to be, first off, he was not going to be our starting quarterback.
He's still a quarterback. He was your quarterback last year.
He was not going to be Northwestern's.
First
off, he started the season. Then they went to Mike Wright. Then they were like, holy crap, somehow Mike Wright is worse than Jack Lausch. And then they went back to Jack Lausch, and they gotten even worse. So now they brought in the guy from SMU, which you're hoping that he'll be good. Jack Lausch was never going to compete for that job.
By the way, he's got a great football name.
Preston Stone?
Yes.
He's got a great surfer name. Preston Stone sounds like a guy who'd be great in Outer Banks. He sounds like an Outer Banks character.
As we go to break and we come back, I'm going to tell you that Nebraska basketball yesterday got a commitment from a Creighton player. Michigan has scheduling news.
Oh, scheduling news.
They're going to play this. Joey just went, let me think about this kick time. They're going to play week 0 next year in Frankfurt, Germany, Michigan, and Western Michigan.
Yeah. Would have been cool if they went to Kalamazoo. That'd be funny. They played it at Western Michigan to begin the year.
Those Maction stadiums are beautiful.
I was about to say, have you ever been to Kalamazoo?
I've been over to Eastern Michigan.
I'm not saying all Mac, but I do. There are times where I'm watching Maction and I go, I thought this would be a high school stadium.
Eastern Michigan Stadium, along with the green field. Joey,
they're going to get rid of the track.
Joey, what are our standards?
Yeah, like Northern Illinois doesn't necessarily have the coup de grace.
All right, top of the hour, Mike Schaefer will stop by. Again, Nebraska opens up camp on Monday, and they will open it up to the media to begin on the opening day. Also, a week from today, the Big Ten Network Football Tour begins, and it begins in Lincoln. So a lot of stuff on football next week. Last weekend without football. Do what you do. Take care of yourself out there.
Take care of your money. Take care of your chicken.
We're back with more after this on 1620 The Zone. Appreciate the conversation and the battle between Little Caesars and Chuck E. Cheese that's going on. Which place has crazy bread? There, just decided it for you.
I haven't been to a Little Caesars. I've never done the pizza.
Okay.
I've never done the.
It's been a while for me since I had my last Little Caesars.
It's the official pizza of the NFL.
I
told you it's lost its edge when it moved out of Kmart.
Is this still the Little Caesars Bowl in Detroit?
Yeah.
The official
Let me check on that. I believe so.
Have
Seems like
you
Minnesota plays in that bowl a lot.
Have you guys ever been sitting down on your couch and they're like the official sandwich of the NFL or like the official chicken of the SEC, and you're like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna buy that chicken now because it's the official product of my conference. Like, I've never been like, oh my God, I want to buy a DeWalt ladder because it's the official ladder of the NCAA.
But you remember that, though.
I do.
So, like, if you're in the hardware store, you're like, oh, yeah.
Like, this is the ladder that, coaches climb to cut down the nets. Oh my God, it's way too expensive. I'm going to go and buy a different one.
Motor City Bowl. It's been renamed, Joey. Very, very sad. Winning coach does not get doused in crazy bread.
Did that happen? What is crazy bread?
Breadsticks.
Okay.
But they're special at Little Caesars.
Yeah, they're crazy?
They're pretty good.
Pretty good. Pretty good. They're They're greater than Olive Garden breadsticks.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yep.
whoa, whoa,
Yep.
whoa, whoa,
Yep.
whoa. That
Yep.
is
Yep.
a high bar to clear. Is it better than the cheddar biscuits over at Lobster?
I'm not comparing breadsticks and biscuits. There's a big difference. I've lived in the South.
I mean, they're both yeast and dough and flour and water. You
walk in and go, hey, can I get a chicken breadstick?
No, I'm not saying that they're different between.
No, you can't
They are.
compare
They
them.
are different. I mean, they are.
Nope. You can't.
Do you
compare
prefer
'em.
biscuits or breadsticks?
Oh, biscuits
Okay.
that are made the right way every day that
Yes.
ends in Y.
So that you would say that the Red Lobster cheddar biscuits are better than the crazy bread over.
I don't
at
think that. I
Pizza
think
Hut.
Red Lobster is good at anything
That is a crazy statement.
except for locking up lobsters
They are-
and not letting them free.
Well, they let them free into a pot for a little bit, and then they end up not being able to swim shortly after.
Yesterday, this kind of coincided with what's going on in Big Ten football. They released the volleyball poll. Yesterday, I looked at that, and Nebraska's a favorite, and they have 4 that are on the preseason team. All of this, not a surprise. I looked at that, and I said, this is why Danny Busboom Kelly was the only coach that could take over for John Cook.
Because of the pressure of having.
Yeah, you look at
That-
that and you go, you know what? Been there, done that. You ought to see what they did to us in the ACC. We were the first team. We were the number 1 team going into the preseason. We had 4 kids that were on the preseason team. Not a big deal. Any other coach, your first time, your first year, you'd go, okay. Can we get to, where's the Final Four this year? Kansas City? I don't know if we get to Kansas City. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And I'm thinking, somebody's been there, done that, and they're like, yeah, okay. Or they're like, you know what? That's Nebraska. It's supposed to happen here. That's why you hire somebody that has done what she has done. Also, one other point about volleyball in this state was reiterated to me this week. The young women that play volleyball at Nebraska are friggin' rock stars.
Yes.
They might, and I might be underestimating calling them rock stars. They had a camp in Lincoln the last 2 days. So Bergen, Harper, and Andy. I mean, the players are one name people.
I was about to say, the fact that you can just say their first name.
So they had a camp for 2 days, and they had 1,300 kids. 1,300. Look at that as a recruiting tool. You come here, you are like legends to young people. I'm like, Nebraska volleyball is in a great spot right now. Now you got to just make sure that the juniors have a little sense of urgency that they don't want their career to end without getting a trophy.
I mean, how many places in volleyball are there where you don't have to, like, you're just on the team and you're just on the roster and you're a part of it, and immediately you become recognizable and you become like known, like your name, like immediately on campus. Like Skylar Pierce is a great example of someone who didn't play last year, but everybody knows who she is. Everybody knows that she was a freshman. Everybody knows that she could be really good one day. As soon as she steps on campus, everyone goes, oh yeah, that's Skylar Pierce. Oh, that person matters. There's maybe only other, like Texas maybe is another volleyball place where it's like, you don't have to like scratch and claw and gnaw and like make Final Fours over and over and over again and national championships over and over and over again to like truly have an impact.
Now, there's another part of John Cook's legacy is when he retired, what he left behind.
Yes.
He did not leave the program in a poverty state. He said, I just delivered you maybe a team that's going to be better than last year. Yesterday, another Nebraska athletic team made some news. Fred Hoiberg. Familiar with him?
Yeah, I've heard his name once or twice before. He
added, or his first pickup of the class of 2026, Colin Rice, who is a Wolf.
Waukee
Northwest. He is not technically as a Wolf. He just goes to a high school where their nickname is the Wolf. And he is in a high school where when I was growing up, we just turned our noses down at Waukee.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Were they just not respected?
They were nothing.
Jeez.
They were nothing. They were a small community. And now they are basically bursting at the seams. And they are all in on athletics. So like Johnston and Waukee, they're all in on athletics in suburban Des Moines. And it's a really, really good high school that is producing both boys and girls, high-level athletes. So they pick up Colin Rice yesterday. And all I could think about, because I've seen him play AAU basketball, is Nebraska got a guy that looks like he should be playing at Creighton. So 6'7", 6'8", can shoot it a little bit, can pass, is really good away from the ball, has some athleticism, looks very unselfish. And I'm thinking, that's a guy that if you put him in Omaha instead of Lincoln, you'd go, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Good pickup for Nebraska. But the bigger story of them getting Colin Rice is it would be a bigger story if they did not get him to commit because they made him a priority. And Price Sanford, who will be on the roster this year, who Fred has recruited, Colin Rice is dating his sister.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, Nebraska was always in a good spot with him.
Sure.
And if they would not have gotten him, to me, that would have been a bigger story. But Fred got a guy that he prioritized. I got thoughts about high school players and Fred recruiting, but maybe the tides are turning. But a nice pickup to start your recruiting class. But I could have said, okay, that guy could be playing at Creighton. You could have switched because I mean, here's a guy in the same class that plays for what is he at? D1 in Minnesota, Jaden Kuhn, who's committed to Creighton, who's from Storm Lake, who's going to be a really good player. They're kind of similar. So Nebraska got a guy that could play at Creighton.
He's a little bit shorter than Jackson McAndrew, but he actually kind of looks similar to Jackson McAndrew, even from like a face and like hair perspective. I think it's awesome. 4-star recruit. He's 116th in the nation. He's top in the state of Iowa. You beat good Big Ten teams in order to get him. I mean, Illinois was all in over him. Iowa, his home state, his home team was all in over him, and you were able to come and you were able to get him. And I just will always stand pat on what Fred is doing now, gets them into the 7 to 10 seed range, gets them on the bubble, gets them competing for a tournament. But if Nebraska basketball will ever break through that into the, oh, hey, they're a 6 seed or a 5 seed or a 4 seed, to me, it starts with building that base with young high school recruits, with young, just top prospects, and then building them and developing them and building that kind of the culture and program around them.
Not ready to go there yet.
Well, I'm not saying that this is,
because the history.
No, I know. Well, so this is what I believe. I just think
could change this year, and I will adjust my opinion. But I need to see high school players be recruited by Nebraska. They win high school battles instead of portal battles, and a high school kid gets here and plays. That's why it's a big year for Rhymes and then Frager, who everybody that's watched Nebraska this summer, they're like, Kendall Blue is our best player.
Wow.
Frager is somebody to watch out for.
I just really think that just across sports in general, not just a basketball thing, I really believe in you build your core through high school and then you use the transfer portal as a supplemental piece. And I think, football, I'm with you. Basketball, I think that's not happening. But look at what they're doing great. Just to use Coach Mack for an example. Yes, they went out and they spent a ton of money on Nick Graves and Josh Dix and Owen Freeman. And, you go down the line. But they also have a really good base in terms of, Jackson McAndrew is a guy that they recruited, they got from high school. Jason Green, he's an incredible, he's a very important part of that team. They got him from high school. They develop him, right? You look at, Kalkbrenner. He was you get him from high school, you have him develop, you use him as your base. I still think that exists. And also too, though, you look at a guy like Baylor Shireman, they get him a transfer portal guy from South Dakota, not a high school guy, but he also becomes a pillar of that program. So that can happen too. But I think that is, if we look over the last couple of years, it's just having that base recruiting of just, hey, high school players and developing those high school players and making kind of that core hasn't happened at Nebraska. It has not.
That's why I wouldn't compare Nebraska and Creighton in terms of high school, because as a head coach, you have to be willing that you like recruiting high school kids, but then you like developing them and playing them.
And Fred has proven that, or has shown that he doesn't necessarily like that. He doesn't like to do that. But I do think too, when you just look at the history of, Nebraska basketball under Fred Hoiberg, they've only made the NCAA tournament once. So you kind of have to look at, all right, what are some of the things that I've learned? What are some of the tools that I've used? And how can I try and mend it the best in terms of what I'm comfortable with and what we have to change in order to have more success? And I wouldn't be surprised if they did some, just self-assessment and say, okay, maybe we have to invest more in developing high school players. We have to invest more maybe in recruiting high school players.
I hope so, because Rhymes and Frager could be very important supplemental pieces to this roster. But you have to be comfortable as a head coach, because it's going to take some time.
Yes.
Unless you're bringing in Bryce McGowan's. So you have to be comfortable with, okay, I don't necessarily pay attention to my bottom 7 of my roster. And if it's a high school freshman's in the bottom 7, if he transfers, great, we're going to go out and get somebody else. I hope that is changing. I think that would be ideal. Maybe Fred, as you were alluding to, has learned some lessons. I will say one thing. In the last couple of recruiting classes, whether it be portal guys or high school guys, they have said, I'm not doing the whole Verge locker room, guys that are knuckleheads. Like they are getting guys that you could go, okay, everybody says the same thing about this guy. Very unselfish. Fit well. He's a culture guy. He'll be great in the locker room. He'll be great on the floor. He won't threaten to kill a assistant coach or launch a basketball up into the upper level of PBA. Okay? That was a couple of years ago.
That's crazy.
So things have changed a little bit. All right. Mike Schaefer is going to join us next. His thoughts, what he'll do to prepare for camp if he is in shape. We don't know.
Who's in shape? Mike's in shape? Schaefer's in shape?
Yeah, you can't all of a sudden, the weekend before camp starts, all of a sudden start running 40s and running steps and losing weight. We'll see if Schaefer's in shape because camp begins on Monday. Plus, we'll talk a little recruiting. Also, Matt Verzal will stop by where maybe we'll have a fix for Class A football and football in this town in general when it comes to high school. That's all coming up in the last hour. Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Hey, you.
Hey,
I think you would enjoy little Pink Floyd.
I have a Pink Floyd T-shirt.
Australian Pink
Yeah.
Floyd will be around in the metros coming
Australian Pink Floyd?
Yeah, tribute band.
What are they? Yellow Floyd?
Oh, give me one moment.
I went to Goodwill and I bought a Pink Floyd shirt.
Okay.
And it became like a going out shirt.
Nice.
I don't know any Pink Floyd songs or anything like that, but it turned into oh my God, nice shirt, man. Or it's like, oh, I love that band. Or oh, like I got a lot of like respect for it.
You have some empty spaces in your life, but you have some young lust. Now you all of a sudden got some money. People are chasing after you.
They're not.
You run like hell.
People are not chasing after me.
Okay, so I take it back.
Is that also another song, Pink Floyd song?
So say hello to your mother.
I
And
will.
then-
I see her today. I can't wait.
And then baby host over here, when you learn how to fly, okay, it'll be better.
I'll be flying today.
Oh, there you go. All right, let's welcome in Mike Schaefer from Husker 24/7. Good morning, Schaefer.
Morning, guys. How we doing today?
Good. Favorite Hulk Hogan match of all time?
Ooh, okay. So my frame of reference for Hulk Hogan is that I came into wrestling like right around 1997. So NWO Hulk Hogan is like, for me, that's what I know. I didn't have the red and yellow. I didn't take my vitamins and say my prayers or have that upbringing. So I know NWO Hulk Hogan. So I grew up just rooting against him. Like I was never a fan of Hulk Hogan in terms of as a wrestler because he was like such a heel in the moments that I was a kid that I always was rooting for Sting or NWO Wolfpack or whatever else. Never Hogan, never Bischoff. They seemed like the perfect people to root against when you're a child, and they still seem like they would be that way. So there's an element of cool to the NWO that I just don't know that wrestling will ever replicate again. But for me, it was the Goldberg versus Hogan match that took place in Atlanta in like the summer of 1998.
Yeah.
Just a huge moment in wrestling. They gave away an incredible match. They didn't have it at like Bash at the Beach. It was on Nitro in the Georgia Dome. And like, if you go watch this, and I don't know why anyone would other than they want like a retrospective of Hulk Hogan, but if you go watch this, the crowd is insane because Goldberg is from Atlanta. He's just this like sort of hometown hero. He's in the middle of his massive streak. Hulk Hogan unbeatable with the NWO, and Goldberg wins that match. And it was just a huge, huge memory for me. Otherwise, there's a lot of matches with Sting in there. Other guys of the NWO Wolfpack when that was like a thing, but it's the Goldberg Hulk Hogan one, which Hogan wasn't a particularly good wrestler.
No,
and Goldberg's not like a great wrestler, but it was a spectacle in the event, and the fact that it happened on a Monday Nitro instead of on pay-per-view, which I was never getting as a kid, made it just stand out for me.
Did you guys hear the story that Hogan was not supposed to be the final member of the NWO? It was supposed to be Sting.
I did not know that.
And like Hogan jumped on it, and so that's how we had the heel turn.
Yeah, that's a no for me, brother.
Yeah, I think I have. I mean, there's like a lot of varying history with wrestling, and so like some people will talk about it like that was always the plan. Other people will talk about it like it would just sort of all came together perfectly. But yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a watershed moment in wrestling, like the Who's the Third Man? Like I can hear Tony Schiavone yelling that right now in my head. That whole clip because I've watched it enough.
Yeah,
times.
but then you got Bobby the Brain being like, "Whose side is he on? Whose side is he on?" It's like Bobby, dude. Like, don't spoil it, please. Were you a big 1, 2, 3 kid? You take me as a big 1, 2, 3 kid fan.
Me?
Yeah.
No, not really.
Sorry if that was an insult.
That's Sean Waltman, right?
Yeah. He was awesome.
I know him. I certainly know him more as X-Pac than I do 1, 2, 3 kid, or even he was 6. They didn't have a name for him when he joined the NWO. He was the 6th member of the NWO. That's how he became 6 in the WCW.
Hey, before we talk about the current team, let's talk about possibly the future team. How big of a deal is it that a young man who plays high school football 30 blocks from this station has just achieved a 5-star before he begins his junior year in Torrey Pittman III.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. I mean, he's been a national level recruit really since his freshman year of high school when he was picking up offers from Mickey Joseph and other schools pretty early on. And then I know 24/7 Sports aggressively had him in their top 20 players in the country well before they would even have 5-star status. And so he's been identified very early. Now, we've seen this before in Nebraska, and the difference for Torrey Pittman is when some of these guys, you go all the way back, like Avante Dickerson was a top 30 recruit at one point in time, Christian Jones, Davon Hall, and usually they end up sliding back down in the rankings. The difference for Torrey Pittman is, I think, the combination of the athleticism, the fact that he can play on either side of the ball, and that he's still growing in his game. I think there's just a lot of enthusiasm for him. I don't know that he'll stay a 5-star ranked recruit forever. It's pretty rare, obviously, in Nebraska for that to happen. But he's going to certainly be a huge recruiting challenge for Nebraska to try to keep him at home, because whether it's USC or Miami or all of these different schools, I mean, they're coming after him. They're coming hard. And, there's no shield here that protects Nebraska from these teams coming in to recruit him. I mean, he's going to have every major offer in the country. And, should he continue the process and work with these schools in terms of recruiting them, they're going to remain interested throughout.
You brought up, said Hulk Hogan, not the greatest wrestler ever, but I think we can agree that he is the most important wrestler of all time. Does Nebraska football have a player like that, where they weren't necessarily the greatest player in Nebraska football history, but man, without him, the program just would not be what it is today?
I mean, isn't that Tommy Frazier? At least it is to somebody like me. Like, I don't think that on statistical value, you look at Tommy Frazier and think that he's the greatest quarterback Nebraska's ever had. Maybe he would. I can't speak to that. It's hard when you look at the passing statistics, and it was a different era of football altogether. But his sheer willpower and value as a quarterback, and I understand that Brooke Behringer plays a big part of that, and certainly the rest of the pieces around him. But it's like Tommy Frazier, easily the first one that comes to mind, where I wouldn't think of him as the best that Nebraska's had at the quarterback position, but you could certainly make the case that he is one of the most important players Nebraska has ever had, with his effect that he had, in that kind of run there. I mean, I don't think we're talking about Tom Osborne the same way without Tommy Frazier. I don't know if we're talking about Nebraska having multiple national championships in the decade of the 90s without Tommy Frazier. Like, he was that valuable to that team. And it's, you talk to people there, it wasn't even so much his physical gifts. It was the fact that he was somehow a rallying force, despite the fact that he probably, I don't think he was everyone's friend. He's kind of made that pretty apparent. And so I think his ability to bring together that 93, 94, 95 group, and play the most important position on the field while doing it. And like I said, I mean, Brooke Behringer is certainly a big part of this too, but Tommy Frazier, I don't even know that I have a second answer there. He's just the first one that comes to mind. It's hard to think of Nebraska football history if Kevin Steele isn't playing cards with his grandma on the porch down in Florida and helping fill up that commitment. It really is.
Mike Schaefer from Husker 24/7 joining us. There is a guy that used to be here last year, is now at Kentucky. 88.9% success rate on 27 carries on 3rd and short. His name, of course, Dante Dowdell. This year, 3rd and short, who gets the football?
If it was me, if Mike Schaefer was the one running the offense, which I don't know that anybody needs or wants, you'd see a lot of Heinrich Harburg in this situation, because I think it opens up the avenue of different ways to attack defenses. You're running a wildcat formation, or you can run a wildcat formation, but he also clearly can pass the football. So defenses have to respect that. They can't just bunch into the middle, because he can do more than just plow into a line and try to push through. But with his size and speed, I mean, you have to be careful about his ability to get around the corner. You have to be careful about his ability to throw the football. You have to be careful about his ability to run up the middle. And I don't know that you use it on every short yardage situation,
Mhm.
but I just think it'd be criminal if you're not taking advantage of the kind of player that he is in the red zone. Like when it's second and goal from the 3, that seems like a great time to at least try a play with Heinrich Harburg and see if your offensive line can get the push. And, if you put some run pass option on it and let him go to work. So I think we're going to see a lot of Heinrich Harburg in short yardage situation because it makes sense to me, but we'll see what Dana Holgerson ends up doing. If it's not him, then it gets real hairy because I don't believe in Quentin Ives. I need to see it before I can accept what the coaching staff has kind of told us that they really like him. But it just, 6 carries for 7 yards or 5 carries for 7 yards. Like we need to see real on field production that he can do that. And then if it's not Quentin Ives, is Isaiah Mosey or Connor Booth, are you already turning to a freshman to be a short yardage specialist? Is it just Emmett Johnson that has to have 30 touches a game? Because you're going to have to find ways to get him off the field, and he probably can't be your short yardage guy all the time either. So it's a very valid thing to wonder.
I think it could be unpredictable. One quick thing here, back to Harburg. Are we past his fumble issues?
I think I am because I think it's just a different mindset.
Okay.
When you're the quarterback and running an offense where you're largely dependent to be everything for that offense like he was in 2023 because they just didn't have enough else around him or there was the injuries. And there's just a different mentality and mindset.
Okay.
I'm not as worried about it. And I can't even really remember how many he's had. I mean, Nebraska's had so many running quarterbacks that have fumbled football.
11.
That, where does he rank relative to when this was a huge issue for Taylor Martinez or a huge issue for Tommy Armstrong or whoever else? So I think I'm okay with it.
So Justin Fields is going to be okay, but it seemed like for a second, Adrian Martinez might have been one injury away from being the starting quarterback of the New York Jets. And it took me about 15 minutes to try and look up who the last quarterback that Nebraska had that took snaps in the NFL until I texted my partner over here, who revealed to me in about a minute. It was Bruce Matheson in 1987. But it got me thinking, Mike, Nebraska football has had some pretty good representation in the NFL, but they haven't had that superstar Pro Bowl skill position player, that wide and offensive skill position player. Haven't had that wide receivers making Pro Bowls. Hasn't had that running back that's making Pro Bowls or the quarterback that is making Pro Bowls in quite some time. In an era now where it seems like we are more attached to players more so than ever than just individual teams. Do you think that Nebraska not having that Baker Mayfield or Saquon Barkley or Devonta Smith or A.J. Brown that they can just point to and say, hey, look at what they're doing every day on Sundays or every week on Sundays. Do you think that could have hurt them or has hurt them when it comes to recruiting offensive skill position players?
I mean, beyond just the offensive skill position players, just look at the guys trying to make rosters. They don't have a lot of slam dunks that are in the NFL anymore. And that tells the story of the last decade as much as anything. I mean, they've had some talent. They've had guys that have made it through the undrafted free agent route. They've had guys that have had, Trey Palmer is the most successful offensive player they've had in the last, 5 years, and he's on the Bucs, but he's fighting for 4th, 5th on the depth chart of one of the best wide receiving duos and units in the country. So he's kind of the lone example that you even have of that. And then the other guys that have been good, you've had some good college players, but they haven't necessarily manifested to being NFL guys. And then on top of it, Nebraska's skill position in this stretch, you had Adrian for 4 years. Before that, you had Tommy Armstrong for 4 years. In between, you had Tanner Lee, who made the NFL. And I was wondering briefly if he got a snap that he would have been the answer for that. But you haven't had that many people. Jeff Sims, Casey Thompson. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, Stanley Morgan and Trey Palmer are your wide receivers that have had the cups of coffee. And the running back, we know that's been a borderline bust for them for a decade now. So it all sort of stands to tell the story as to Nebraska's really struggled to put guys in the NFL, regardless of position. And then just historically, far more likely to have successful defensive players than they are, or offensive linemen, than they have been to have skill guys. So it's a thing where Matt Rule is certainly wants to build this to be a program that puts people in the NFL. They have to go have success, and they have to find the right guys and develop the right guys and see what they're able to turn out. I mean, couldn't Dane Key become that? I think he has the opportunity to, but I don't know that sitting here today on July 25th that I even think Dane Key would be a day 2 pick in the NFL. So, they've got to be able to find a way to develop and identify talent, turn these guys loose if they're going to have that NFL representation. Otherwise, it's just going to be a whole lot of names that we talk about that need to try to make roster cuts throughout the month of August.
Hey, speaking of cuts, there is no cuts, but there's some pretty good competition coming into fall camp. But there's going to be some guys that are going to be squeezed out. Like their time in Nebraska has kind of come to an end because I don't see light at the end of the tunnel where they're going to get playing time. Any candidates come to mind that you're watching very closely over the next month to see how much progress they've made? Because if they don't make progress, they're either guys behind them, guys in front of them, or guys that are being recruited that they may not have a path to playing time.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of that already leave. Wide receiver, they had their exodus here this spring where it just seemed like these weren't guys that were going to fit with what Dana Holgorsen wanted, or they just needed a fresh start themselves. I'm trying to think position-wise, defensive back comes to mind. If there's some young defenders that, like a Ramir Stewart, what does it look like for him, down the line if he's not able to carve out some playing time right now? Guys like that. I hate using specific examples because I don't know anything about Ramir Stewart, but he's just someone that comes to mind. Like that. To have all these defensive backs, they had a few leave during the portal session in the spring, but they still have, quite a few that have to kind of figure out what they are. And then here's the other thing. Just because someone isn't flashing in August doesn't mean they can't show up and help you in November. So it's a difficult deal. And then you look at the offensive line, you have guys like Teddy Prohaska and Turner Corcoran, and I don't know where they fit in this grand scheme. And there's not a lot of future seasons left. With Corcoran, he'd be done. And then Prohaska, I think he'd maybe have a year of eligibility remaining. So those guys are sort of fascinating to me. And then you have some of your other offensive linemen from, I think, the 23 or the 24 class.
Yeah, like
where you wonder, is it, if we don't see something here, how far are you going to be behind what's being brought in? So it's certainly there's a cast of now or never guys out there. But I think Nebraska's always tried to be prudent with that, whereas if they think that you can help them out, they may not be right away, but they're going to continue to try to build you up and have you ready to be deployed when it's your time to shine.
What do you think the identity of this offense is going to be?
I don't know. I wish I did. I think the identity is going to be Emmett Johnson in a weird way, because I just anticipate Nebraska is going to utilize him so differently than people might be prepared for. At the end of last season, he was averaging 20.5 touches a game. He was averaging, I think, 6 or 7 receptions a game. Those are numbers he wasn't doing before Dana Holgorsen showed up. So if that's what it looks like for a whole season, like if he's averaging 5 catches a game across 12 regular season games, my math tells me that's 60 catches. Like you don't see that a lot out of Nebraska's running backs. And maybe he's not going to have that kind of, number, but we're talking about like the utilization of somebody, how you saw a Marshall Faulk or a Priest Holmes, not at that level, but certainly the idea of this is the sort of player that we're just going to try to load up because he's a difference maker for us. He can be an X factor. We can get him, spread out against the linebacker and they can't stay in coverage. We can get him, being able to make a move on a defensive back or run through him because he's got a one-on-one opportunity and he's slippery. So I think we're going to see a lot of Emmett Johnson in that regard, and then that could open up the rest of the offense. But I take Dana Holgorsen at his word when he says he's not interested in being an air raid team. He's not interested in having specific, benchmarks in terms of he wants to have X amount of yards or X amount of carries or whatever else. I think that he is very open to moving this offense in whatever direction it needs to go for Nebraska to be the most successful team that it can be. And I think that's why the identity thing is going to be tough, because they might be a different team week to week to week because they have different assets that allow for that. But ultimately, they have to be a team that protects the football and can be explosive. I don't think they can be the plotting version that they were last year and have success. I think they have to be more explosive. There has to be more 25-yard plus chunk plays. They have to put teams on their heels, and they'll be a much, much better team if they're able to pull that off.
Yep. It'll be fascinating. All right, Chafe, we appreciate it. Rest up. Final week before camp begins. Hope you're ready.
Yeah, I think I'm ready. You
Okay.
never know until you're fully in it. You
Yeah.
know, and then it's 112 degrees and you're there watching
Especially on Monday and Tuesday.
linemen take snaps and move against air and take photos and then offer takes on it. So we'll see
it's
what I
that.
got for us
We're
next
back,
week.
baby.
All
we
the
are
takes,
so back.
baby.
Hey, Chafe, thanks. Have a great weekend.
All right, guys, take care.
It's Mike Schaefer. Camp begins on Monday.
Can't wait for he looks like a freakazoid.
I'm curious on the depth chart 34 days from now when it comes to quarterback.
Ooh.
Ah.
That is an underrated storyline.
Yep. All right, Matt Verzal, never underrated, never overrated, just Verz. He's coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, we welcome in on this Friday, July morning, Matt Verzal. Good morning.
What's up, boys?
How you doing? Hey, I want to start with high school football because I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday. They usually get fired up for high school football in this town. They go to every game. They don't have kids in school anymore, but they like to get out to games. And they have such a negative vibe about high school football because of the way that it has gone. So it also coincided with the NSA yesterday trying to resolve the Class A football scheduling problem. And I know you're more familiar with Class B, but you have Ryan Murtaugh over at Bryan that is like, if we don't get things changed, there are going to be 10 to 12 schools that are going to create their own division. I like John Krogstan, who is really, really good as the athletic director of OPS. He proposed, let's go to an 8-game season, 32 teams get into the playoffs, do away with districts. Let's just put a statewide schedule together of like opponents, but teams can be in the playoffs. They can get extra home game. They got something to play for. As we are about to begin high school football practice around here, what's the general vibe you get from your customers and people in the biz with you about where we're going with high school football? And do you think any of these proposals would keep people at least at bay for the moment about, okay, there's a chance to be competitive in A?
The people that kind of come in there, they're not happy with it, but they also know that the only solution to make it right is nobody will listen to it.
Okay.
Like, go back to, and I used to coach at a Catholic school. I get it, so this won't be that popular, but I've got solutions. You play where you live.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want it to be fun and bounce, the 32 team playoff is asinine. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. You're back into handing out participation ribbons. But what people don't want to talk about is just lock it down. These are the districts. Shout out to Elkhorn. Elkhorn does it that way.
Yeah.
Like Monte Cristo's oldest son, Drew, was playing football
Mm-hmm.
at Elkhorn High. And so Maya's just like, okay, so my daughter just then goes to Elkhorn High, grandfather policy, she's in there. Elkhorn was like, no, you don't live in the Elkhorn district anymore. You live in the Elkhorn North district.
Yep.
You will go to Elkhorn North.
Yep.
Like, the administrations have to develop a backbone. Now, you're going to say, oh, but you Catholic schools, this, that, the third. It's fantastic. Catholic school is a financial decision. Okay? Now, what everybody will say is, well, we can't afford that. It's like, well, have you reached out to the Catholic school and seen what they can offer you in education, in aid, in those kind of things? If you want to go play at what is viewed as the premier football teams in the state, then pick your happy ass up and move over to that district. Now you're making a financial decision. Because why could I not say that about that when people want to bag on private schools?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys go out and recruit and you pay. Matt Turman has never once said, hey, you need to go, when I coach there, you need to go watch this 7th grader play. Because guess what finger Matt Turman would have got from Matt Versal? And it isn't going to be a nice one. Because I don't know what that 7th grader is going to be. All right? So that's the uncomfortable decision that the administrations don't want to have, because now they're drunk on winning and we're successful and we're this and we're that. They don't want competitive. They want to win. And I get it. I love winning. But I also like taking what I got, what's given to me, and making it the best I can make it. Okay? That's what I want. I was working with your little company there on that Thursday night when we went to watch. I talked to the coach at Bryan. He's a great guy, and I love his mindset. I love the way he thinks about the game.
Yeah.
But he goes, my biggest fear is that we do end up being successful and we do good, and then I show up to practice the next year and half of my kids are gone because I won't name names, but we all know who they are, because this school will come take them, and that school will come take them, and this school will come take them, and they'll promise them. Instead of us as a state empowering all of our coaches to say, hey, we can do this for your school and we can get you guys to this point, we got to do this. Now, for the coach, they can't get into the defeatist mentality and say, well, this is what my hand is, this is what I'm dealt. You got to fight to keep that relationship with the parent, with the kid, with the whole family, and you got to step your game up as a coach. Hey, I can talk to just as many college coaches as they do.
Mm-hmm.
We can have a showcase here at our school to do this, but then the question is, do you want to do the work? There's so many ways this can go. And then if you want to put all the Catholic schools in their own league, do it. And then you can wallow in your own pity of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want it back to what it should be, which is building young men and women, not because they won a state championship, not because they won a whole bunch of games. When you're building a human being to be a better human being, then you're going. There's 2 schools I can name right now that used to have immense success in the game of football, and you see nothing from any of their kids anymore. No college success, no life after football success. So now I have a question for you. What did you do for that young man to make him a better man? You used him to play football and boost your little fragile ego. You did not help that young man to become a better man. People can say what they want about me, Sam, and ass. I'm not going to use the words you use to describe things, the foul language that you use, Gary Sharp, to talk about small towns. But I'm here to build a man. That's all I'm here to do. And if we win games, like I'm more proud. I got to see Ben Zerzan last night. One of my favorites.
Okay.
Married, knocked Cam Jurgens out of the game, which he and I love. I love giving him S about that when he comes in. I'm like, hey, you knocked the Super Bowl champion, highest paid center in the NFL out of a game. Do you know that? And he just smiles and laughs. But I'm more proud of Ben Zerzan for the fact that he's a good husband.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good man. That's what I care about. I don't care about the game and playing. But by God, almost said it, but by God darn, if I build a good man, then that game that we play will go a lot better for us. I'll tell you that, for free.
All right. So the reference was not to small town Nebraska. It was about Indiana's schedule. So anybody in Manawani, that was not towards you. So one quick thing. So you are a solutions guy, and this maybe you've answered this. This is a stunning stat in Class A football. Of the regular season games that were played between in-state competition, 48% of them ended with a running clock. And for people that don't know the running clock, when you get ahead by 35 points or more, that clock starts running. So half the games in Class A last year were a running clock.
Mm-hmm.
Any solution to that?
That's when you have the haves and the have-nots, that's what it's going to become. When you have people designated on your staff to go poach from other schools, what do you think's going to happen? Like this ain't. We love to complicate things. You're getting me very close to cussing. So whoever the film producer is right now, keep the finger near the trigger, because when you make winning or that the end game, we don't care what else happens. We're just here to win. You're not building a human being. You're not helping them out in the future. That's what you get, because not everybody can do that. And people say, well, step up your game, figure it out, da-da-da. A lot of schools don't have a guy or a gal that is designated to go out and scout 8th grade football games. Mm-hmm. You take what lives in your area and you come. And the part that I love about it is it builds the cool story. We live here, and for this time, we caught a heater. We had a great group of kids. You've seen it, North Platte made the run when they had Woodhead in the crew. And then you got other schools do it. Kearney is doing a great job. Grand Island made it to a state championship. You put it all together for that one run, and it's awesome. And it builds community, and it builds storylines. Because you're getting people to go to high school games that make by halftime it looks like the Oklahoma State game when in Nebraska and everybody left. Like, we ain't dealing with this. We're out of here. That's not what it should be. It should be great game to the end. Everybody's in it. Now I am not right in this. There's no right or wrong answer to this. Mm-hmm. It is all wrong right now. But until you get almost a militant style of leadership that isn't going to put up with it, this is what it can be. And I have no fault with the teams that are doing it, because they are doing everything inside of the rules to do this. These are the rules of the game right now, and they are succeeding in those rules. Kudos to you. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you understand the rules and you have the capability to do that. But not everybody does. So now this is what you're going to get. So as an overseer of all of it, they have to evaluate and say, is this what we want? And then you'll get into the discussion of the member schools of the governing body. They're the ones that make the decision. So in the governing schools, until they want to change, it won't change. But for all you good folks, love good solid high school football. I've said it many times. Hop on 81 and go down 91 and just stop in and watch. Clarkson Lee, Howells Dodge. You see what it is in its purest sense. So you probably go down and get you $1.50 beer at the bar after the game too. You make about 17, 18 new friends. What are you here for? Well, I just came to watch football. Great, you came to watch our boys. Awesome. But there's more than, it's what Omaha struggles with. There's more to the state of Nebraska in high school football than just Omaha. It's just you got to get in your car and realize that once you get past like Westo or Gretna, that it doesn't fall off a cliff. Like there's other schools out there you can go watch.
Well,
it's why I love the state championship game. I love going out and watching those small town schools practice because it's pure. It is pure as driven snow. Coach Clarkson had Clarkson. He was like, "Hey, I got a guy getting me late today." I was like, "Oh, well, what is everything okay?" I'm thinking instantly a family issue. He goes, "No, Cal's got out. He had to run home real quick, get him back in. He'll be here. He'll be here in a little bit, though." I was like, "Okay, that's great." Kid comes sprinting up the practice. Said, "Coach, I'm so sorry." He goes, I had to go home. I had to da 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 da." And the kid was distraught. Like he was ready for punishment. And coach was like, "Hey, man, it's okay. You got to take care of family stuff. Let's hop into practice, get you warmed up, and let's go." So if you want to watch it, go out, venture out. Realize that there are towns outside of Omaha. It's fun. You'll have a blast.
I appreciate this. We're up against it a little bit, but I just wanted your thoughts on this because you know what the vibe is, and we're getting ready to start practice, which is a great time of the year. And people are like, you know what? Class A, I already know who's going to be in the final. They're not saying that, by the way, about your favorite class, even though your favorite team is a prohibitive favorite.
No, that's not right.
People are very excited.
Oh, they're going to be good. Don't get me wrong, but them wolves out there, them wolves got some dudes.
He's got a good program at Elkhorn North. He does a really good job.
He needs listen. Whoever calls their plays, and you can get after me for this. If I cross the sidelines, I get no points. But if I go north and south, I get a lot of points.
No.
The more north and south you go and less lateral you go, the better that's going to go for y'all.
I like that.
B. Freeze might be one of my favorite players in the state.
He is a dude. He is very much a
nice.
Good call. Good call on him.
I love him because he gives up on nothing.
Hey,
nothing.
Hey, I appreciate it as always, my friend. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
See you, Matt.
Yeah, boys.
Oh, that was 2 questions.
I know you gave it to him.
Sam Stanley does a great job at Elkhorn North.
What Verse is talking about, Stan in Nebraska, 8-man football. I went to about 3 high school football games because I had buddies who were from there.
Mm-hmm.
Matt couldn't have described what that atmosphere. It's like there are parents and people there who haven't had their kid in that school in 15 years, but Stan is great this year and they got to come to the games and they're all drinking Busch Lights and they're all having a good time. And then we go and party afterwards. Like it's one of the best experiences I had was going to those like Class D 8-man football games. They were awesome.
All right, we'll take a break. Come back. We'll put a wrap on the week as we wrap up this little sports talk radio fun. And then it's on to football. Last weekend without football. Also today, Joey, you know what today is?
Oh, it's Feel Good Friday.
That's true. It's also Christmas in July.
Yeah, Christmas in July.
Yeah. People might not realize that. It's Christmas in July. We're back after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, to be the man, you have to beat the man. Woo! Unless you are USC. Whatever happened to the risk reward of playing big time games?
Oh God! Dang it! I just realized I didn't turn on my microphone when I did the woo into the Ric Flair thing. The risk reward kind of turned into when we found out that Indiana football could play about absolutely nobody and end up being incredibly successful. That's when the risk reward everyone started to realize, maybe we don't need to do this anymore. Maybe the risk reward stopped when you lose a game in week 1 during the BCS era. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess we're not going to be the national champions this year.
Does anybody, and this might even be his own fan base, do you find anybody openly rooting for Lincoln Riley to have a good year?
No. I don't see a lot of people openly like rooting against him, if I'm being honest. Like I don't think a ton of people are.
Would you clarify if you put him on a hot seat list and say, he ain't gonna get it done, you would be rooting against him?
I think if you put him on a hot seat list, I think you're just right. I think you're just correct if you were to put him on that list. I think Lincoln Riley has a very interesting how people look at him because he's this young, offensive, good-looking coach, right? He was the college version of like Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan and LaFleur as like, oh, he's so sexy with the offense and this and that. And then, he kind of took his ball and left Oklahoma, and that left a real sour taste in people's mouths. And I think since then, he hasn't been held in the highest regard. And I think a lot of people, and fair or unfair, are like, well, is Lincoln Riley good, or did he just kind of really hit the mark when it came to quarterback prospects? Was he just fortunate to have, Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield and Caleb Williams follow him everywhere he goes? And the minute he doesn't have one of those Heisman Trophy quarterbacks, they start losing.
Or did he run out of the magic of hand-picked quarterbacks?
It's probably that.
Was it Malachi Nelson and then Maeva?
In terms of the guys who left him?
No, that he handpicks.
Oh, sure. I just think it's
because before that he was on Mr. Heisman Trophy.
Well, Miller Moss was supposed to be a really good quarterback too. Like that was a guy who was in kind of a Heisman conversation. He wasn't a favorite or anything, but it was Miller Moss. Like until last year, if you were a quarterback, being connected to Lincoln Riley was like a holy crap, good for you. Like this is going to be great. And then,
or if you're playing defense, it was holy crap the other way.
Yes. And then he took forever to take Moss out of the season. Like he gave Miller Moss a long, long leash.
People are saying that Nebraska forced him to make a change at quarterback.
He did, yeah. I mean, it was terrible.
Our best chance to beat Nebraska is let's have Maeva start.
Isn't it funny though? It's like Nebraska. I would love to find that stat. How is Nebraska like? What is their record when they're playing backup quarterbacks? Because I feel like in recent memory, it's been pretty damn bad.
Well, a good chunk of them was against Iowa.
Yeah,
I know they swapped their quarterbacks around whenever
Iowa
playing Black Friday,
Michigan State, 2023. They had like 3 different quarterbacks.
That was a good win a couple years ago.
Didn't Callie McManus get knocked out of a game or came in as a backup in a game in 2022 or something like that for Minnesota? Like, wasn't the 2022 or 2021 Minnesota game there was a backup quarterback for Tanner Morgan or something? I don't know.
Didn't something happen in one of the Rutgers games? Like one of the quarterbacks played the first half and then the other played in the second half?
Yes.
I have not played well against
Nebraska played Maryland. This would have been in the Riley era.
Okay.
And Maryland was on to like their 6th quarterback when they came in here to play.
You had Michigan State at home who just fired their coach and hadn't won a game in 4 weeks, and they were using Sam Levitt and Noah Kim. And they beat Nebraska. And then
remember when Sam Levitt was going to come to Nebraska?
Remember Russell Bellamy from Michigan coming in for Denard Robinson in 2012?
That was such a letdown. I was so fired up to see Michigan for first time in Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, and that happened.
Yeah. Hey. Chris Christie, coach in Michigan, did not pan out very well.
Rex Miller also got injured in Lincoln the year prior.
Rex Miller.
It's going to be incredible to look back on the 2023 quarterback process when you find out that, okay, Sam Levitt was their first pick, was their first guy that they really went after. Then it turned into, we have a shot at Kyle McCord. Like, let's go dive into that and bring in Julian Fleming. And then it turned into, oh, Dylan wants to come to Nebraska. We're going to drop all of those plans and then take in Dylan. And then Sam Leavitt ends up making the college football playoff. Kyle McCord didn't have a terrible season at Syracuse until he threw like 5 interceptions against Pitt.
Wasn't Cam Ward in the conversation for Nebraska?
He was there, but I don't know if it was
Before
ever
Dylan?
serious or anything.
So was Will Howard. Will Howard was a name that was mentioned. There was a wild rumor that Nebraska had driven to Manhattan to meet with
remember that.
Will Howard. Maybe I shouldn't say rumor. Maybe it did happen, but Will Howard immediately appeared on the radar.
Looking back on it now, would you, out of the 4, McCord, Howard, Leavitt, and Raiola, are you happy with what Nebraska ended up with?
Yes,
I am.
because they'll have their starting quarterback for a minimum of 3 years.
I wonder how Leavitt would have turned out at Nebraska. Because Sam Leavitt was objectively better than Dylan Raiola was last year. Like he just had that.
Well,
but now he was playing in the Big
so-
12. He was playing in a different conference.
So you have to factor in who's calling the plays.
Yes. And he
Okay,
had
would Leavitt, would Satterfield been better? Just bear with me, everybody.
Sure.
Would Satterfield have been better with an older quarterback than a freshman quarterback?
I think Satterfield might have been better with a guy who could run more, and Leavitt can run more. And I think that some of Satterfield's good play calling that was found in 2023 was stemmed from the quarterback runs were actually pretty creative in the way that he could thread him in from time to time. You couldn't do that with Dylan. And so I think maybe you could say, yeah, Satterfield would have had more success in calling the plays that way with Leavitt as his QB. I don't think there's a universe though where Satterfield is still the offensive coordinator. Like I think no matter how you spin it, no matter who the quarterback was, Dana Holgorsen was going to be brought in at some point and become the offensive coordinator and take over the ship for Matt Rule.
Ooh, even if they beat UCLA?
Yeah, I think so, because I think that the offense was still, even with having a bad UCLA game, if you look at the entirety, just the whole of the 2024 season, the offense just was not good. And there was way more mistakes that were just made in the UCLA game. There were mistakes that were made throughout the entirety of the year when it came to play calling. Now, if Leavitt's there, does it happen after the UCLA game? Maybe not. But I think maybe at the end of the year, you just holistically, Nebraska's offense was not good. So I think a new offensive coordinator was going to come in regardless.
It was the right move. But what if the Raiolas had not demanded?
See, I think it probably would have been drawn out. Dylan
got his OC. That's why it has to work.
The reason why I hesitate to answer this question is because a part of me wants to think it's like, if you look at the offense, you're just like, obviously you need a new OC. Like, obviously you just need someone else to come in here, a new set of eyes, a new concept, just something different from what they accomplished. But at the same time, it took a very long time for them to get rid of Ed Foley. And Ed Foley did a terrible job. And what it proved to me with how long it took for them to get rid of Ed Foley is Matt Rule is loyal. Matt Rule is a very, very loyal guy. And even if it doesn't fully make sense from a meritocracy standpoint, he's going to stick with his guys because he trusts and he loves his guys. And so I'd like to think, even if the Raiolas didn't demand, that it still would have happened because the offense was just bad. But I don't know. I think it's a fair question because Rule operates with and you said it yesterday, if he loves you, he's got you. You got a job for life. Like if you work for him and you do the right things, you earn his trust and you're OOU, you're good, man. You're good. It's good football life.
All right, Joey, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sitting in this week. Again, people are inquiring about Jimmy. Jimmy is away on paternity leave. He'll be back in, a month? He'll be back right before the start of the football season.
Yeah, right on the day of the Nebraska-Cincinnati game.
All right, this time 5 weeks from today, we'll be discussing kickoffs at 4:30. Will East Carolina and North Carolina State fight again? And also, if you're going to play on Thursday and you get stuck on ESPN Plus, is it worth playing on Thursday? And this shows you how everybody's jonesing for football around here. Nobody has complained. Well, I should say nobody, maybe one or two people, that Nebraska's kicking off at 8 o'clock 34 days from now. 8 o'clock in the Central Time Zone.
Should be a fun Big Red overreaction for the producer.
11:30, Big Red overreaction, 34 days from now. Have a great weekend, everybody. Live, laugh, punt, make memories, be safe. Also, stay cool out there because beginning on Sunday, it's going to get a little bit warm. And then camp begins on Monday. We're going camping. We'll talk to you on Monday at 6. Crossover is coming up next.